welcome to another episode of the Atacs podcast. We are adults, we talk about cool stuff, and today we are talking about our favorite video games of 2025. I'm your host today. I'm Flex from Apex, North Carolina. It is January 1st, 2026. It's a new year. Happy New Year to everyone out there, and Happy New Year to you, Nate, from Clayton, North Carolina.
Happy New Year. We're talking about the games from last year. Nobody cares about those anymore.
Yeah, these crusty old games. You're like a day old.
Yep.
Happy New Year to you as well, Mr. Will from Wendell, North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about some stale games.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about our favorite video games from the year that was, 2025. Before we get into how this is going to work, which is the same format we've done in previous years, but for any new listeners, we'll go over the format. But before that, how did you guys feel about the year overall for video games specifically? Not the rest of the terribleness of the year, but for video games.
I guess I'll start.
Go for
Nate.
it.
For me and my tastes, and I feel like I might have said this last year too, but I don't know if it's that more things are being made that sort of coincide with my tastes, or if I'm getting better at finding them. But I felt like it was an unbelievably strong year. I sent a message to one of my co-op partners earlier with 12 to 14 games that probably could have been on a game of the year list in another year, but this year was just that much stronger. And so those are going to have to left off. Going to be left off. I'm going to get there. I don't know how to say this, but I think you guys get it.
You got it.
I get it. Yeah.
Gonna be have to left off.
You're either top 10 or you just don't matter at all. You got it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That's cool, and that makes sense because there's so many games out there now, and they're both easier and harder to find, right? Depending on how you look at it. Lots of things are available on lots of different platforms, but you do have to kind of do the work to go looking for things and being able to identify what's going to work for you. So sounds like you've gotten pretty good at that.
I do my best, but a lot of the things that are good are just, I think everybody heard about,
Right.
But anyway, that dims my thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just heard about some game like a few days ago called Clair Obscur.
Is that how you pronounce it? I'm kidding. I have not.
I'm intentionally butchering the pronunciation as if I've never heard it before.
Sounds like a very obscure game.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that one.
So, why does the game need two names?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, Will. I think I feel like the last few years we've been kind of like a lot of people have been lamenting the death of the AAA industry, and like the layoffs suck and the studio closures suck.
Definitely.
But I also don't necessarily miss having less big budget games like that. Like I don't necessarily miss those games. Like I care for the people losing their jobs. But for me personally, I don't really miss playing those games because there are so many games, like you guys were saying, from all sorts of places now. Like we don't need the big corporations to make video games. Like everyone's making video games now. And yeah, I think there's just so many games now that anyone with any taste in games can find a plethora that will fit their tastes.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
People out there doing great work, and we're going to talk about our favorites of those works.
Yeah, for sure.
Any last thoughts on the year overall before we get into the discussion here?
The only thing I'll say from my perspective is this feels like I'm coming into this discussion with a weaker list than I normally do, but that's not because the games are not as good. It's literally because I have had so much less time this year to play games. So I'm like, I played some of this and I thought it was cool, and I would like to play more of it. So here it is on my list of 10 games.
Yeah, and that's fine.
I
And I will also say that I have a longer list than normal. I also had less time this year. And there's always games I don't get to just because I run out of time. But that list of games I didn't get to and want to play from the year is longer than normal this year. Like there's still a lot of games I want to play and just haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah, if I made a list of every game that came out this year that I would like to play, it would stretch on for a very long time.
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to mention is just Monolith shut down in February, and I'm a longtime Monolith fanboy. I was really into the Fears. I was really into the Condemned. I like the um, what was it? Mordor games. But No One Lives Forever. I mean,
Hmm.
is really high quality studio. So among the AAA sort of I guess cutoffs and shutdowns and layoffs, wanted to give them some recognition.
Yeah,
Yep.
they were a really strong studio. Rest in peace, Monolith.
There you go.
And hopefully all those people land on their feet somewhere.
Yes.
Hopefully.
There's a lot of talent there. And I think with that, we'll go ahead and turn to our top tens. So how we do this is we'll go around one at a time and count down from 10 to 1. So I'll be like, Nate, what's your number 10? Will, what's your number 10? And I'll do my number 10, and we'll keep going around. Um, if anyone has, so like if Nate says what his number 10 is, if he says it's Umamase Pretty Derby, then and one of us has that game higher, like I'll say, "Ooh, I have that game higher on my list." Then we will wait to talk about it until it reaches the highest point on someone's list. So it kind of naturally sorts it by what games are higher on lists.
Mm-hmm.
And we only talk about each game once.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. And for the games lower on the list, we'll kind of talk about those a little quicker, but the games that land in the top 5 will give a better discussion. And the only other thing I'll say is we'll try and keep it light on spoilers. And if we're going to spoil anything, we'll give a warning beforehand. So you can kind of you can continue without fear of spoilers for the most part. If you're really sensitive about spoilers for a specific game, you can maybe tune out for that game's discussion. But we will also give an explicit spoiler warning if we're going to spoil something major. I think that's it. You ready to do this?
Let's go.
All right, Nate. What is your number 10 game of 2025?
All right. My number 10 is Keep Driving.
Okay. I've actually been curious about this game.
Yeah.
Have you played this game, Will?
No, I have not.
All right. So what did you like about Keep Driving?
So Keep Driving has pretty immaculate vibes. It has really great pixel art. The music's great. Really sharp, good writing that is like catchy and I don't know, like builds characters very, very quickly. And so the premise of the game is you are on a road trip, your first like car as a young adult, and you're basically just driving through different towns and down different roads and encountering different events or people who need help with stuff, or stopping in different towns and seeing what's at the town in the shops and whatever else, picking up people and letting them ride with you, picking up hitchhikers, scaring off sheep that are in the road, all kinds of just like random little events. It has like a very classic kind of roguelike structure of like you got a map and you're trying to get to a destination and meet certain conditions along the way, and just things happen as you're traveling along.
Do you have like Sorry to interrupt. Do you have like
Yeah.
resources like gas or food or anything, or
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what's the lose state, I guess?
I'm assuming that you can lose. It's not like an FTL situation where the point is like it
Keep
being really
driving
hard.
superstar over here. Doesn't even know how to lose.
To be clear, I've only played one run of this game, but it seemed cool. Um,
Yeah. And
and so
are the events like things you make decisions for, or
yeah, sometimes you'll have a decision to make. Sometimes it's literally just like burning resources, that kind of stuff. So
okay.
you do have like your energy you have to maintain um, by sleeping and things like that. You can get negative status effects. Like if you get hungry, you can eat to get rid of that. You have money and gas, and then you basically it's also kind of a deck builder. You get abilities
Mm-hmm.
that throughout the game from different things. So it could be like your hitchhikers have different abilities based on who you have with you in the car, and so it has a little bit of a deck builder quality to it. Um, but yeah, I mean the main like structurally and mechanically, it's actually pretty straightforward if you're familiar with a roguelike deck builder kind of game. But I think what makes it cool to me and grabbed me and makes me want to go back and play more of it is just like everything about the atmosphere, the look of it, the music, the writing of the characters you meet. Like it's all very like very deliberate and very of a piece and gels together very well to create this like kind of magical road trip experience that's kind of silly and kind of trippy, but also like occasionally we'll have a heartfelt moment or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's a game I've looked at and thought about playing, and I have so many other games to play that I haven't
Yeah,
actually checked it out, but it
yeah.
looks cool.
Yeah, I think if you like watch a video of it and listen to the music and see the visuals and kind of get like a feel for what types of things are in it, like if that doing that grabs you, it's like worth checking out.
Yeah, cool. Keep driving. Nate's number 10 game of the year. All right, Mr. Will, what is your number 10 game of 2025?
A little bit of a late addition, I guess. It is Anode Heart Layer Null, which,
Oh, you're gonna have to say that title for me again.
yeah, it's Anode Heart, Anode, space heart, and then colon layer null, null as in nothing.
Oh, yeah, I found it.
And
Okay.
it's sort of a spin-off. I never played the original Anode Heart game. It might have been like a creature collector of sorts, but I saw this thing come out and I was like, okay, cool, a little deck builder. And I got into it, and I think it's probably, the closest thing you can get to like Magic the Gathering in sort of a single player game. So, it's also got this sort of interesting virtual digital wrapping, so instead of like creatures and like sorceries and instants and enchantments, they're like patches and apps and viruses, and then the creatures are called Tama in the game. Um, but they're like 10 different colors, whereas like Magic has like five, and then each of the colors kind of has its own sort of mechanics. There's a little bit of overlap in the colors. But and then there are just some really interesting cards and concepts. I think you can make there's probably tons of different types of decks that you can make. The only thing I think that was frustrating to me is just that like there's just so much of it, like I kind of feel like he could have or the developer Stove Powered Games, I don't know if it's a single person or not, but they could have probably had half as much game, and probably still would have enjoyed it, but it just keeps going. And I probably, it took me, I think, 20 hours to finish it. Maybe a little more, maybe like 22 or so. But it was just a lot of fun. And I guess for anyone who's played Magic, the sort of caveats or the sort of unique pieces. One is there's a firewall that goes up during the combat, and when the firewall goes up, you can't play any cards that affect your opponent's creatures, and vice versa. So that's kind of an interesting thing,
Hmm.
and so it that kind of brings some strategy into it, where you're like, well, and one of the things about that is the game has certain creatures that are different levels. So you've got level 1 creatures, level 2 creatures, and level 3 creatures. If you put out a level 2 creature, you have to sacrifice a level 1 creature to get that 2 on the board. Same thing for a
Gotcha.
3. And the 3 are very, very powerful. And so
Mm.
sometimes you may want to wait until the firewall's up to do that, because otherwise you might risk getting your creature rocked, when you're
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to kind of do that sort of thing. The other thing is, you also pick almost like an overarching, what they call DNA, from one of the Tama, and that becomes kind of like this overarching ability that synchronizes with your deck. So, I had a deck that I was gaining a lot of life, or I was giving a lot of my Tama extra life, and when I was doing that, one of the DNA that you can get says that whenever you heal one of your creatures, you gain a shard, and those shards can be used to either heal your health total, uh, deal damage to your opponent's health total, or discard your hand and draw some cards. And those abilities are there no matter what. And so that's sort of like an extra little layer on top of the deck building. It's like, how do you earn shards, and do you need shards, and how can you kind of get some extra damage in or gain yourself a little bit of health? But it was just a really, really good time. And I think I look back on the years I played Magic with a lot of fondness. And so, whenever I started playing this and I saw how much shared kind of DNA there was, and how many ideas that the cards allowed for, I think it really was just kind of right exactly what I wanted at that moment, I suppose. But yeah, that's my number 10. It's just a single player deck builder that has a really long campaign with a lot of good ideas in it. It's also very easy to edit your decks. There's a gallery, and when you're in the kind of gallery area, you can buy extra copies of cards that you need. Then there's also a search. There's a search function in the deck builder itself. So if you're looking for different types of creatures, or you're looking for certain types of abilities or characteristics, you can find that pretty easily. And then, of course, you can also sort by color at the bottom. So you could search for, let's say I wanted frogs. I could look for frogs, and then look for frogs that are blue, or frogs that are red, or whatever, or something like that. So it's pretty robust in that way, that in a way that a lot of deck builders aren't, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, that seems cool.
number 10.
Um, these creatures definitely give me Pokemon or Digimon vibes, like the creatures on the cards.
Yeah, I
Um,
think
and it
that's
looks like
yeah,
I clicked on the developers page, and there was a previous game just called Anode Heart
yeah.
that doesn't look like a deck builder. It looks more like a Pokemon like.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it apparently had a little card mini game in it, and I think Layer Null was sort of like, um,
Spinning out that card game,
yeah,
maybe.
spinning out that card game and making it a bit more dense or involved or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I
Yeah.
have no idea what the original game was like, but I
Yeah.
found this.
Well, it has 409 reviews on Steam that aggregates to very positive. So take that for
But
what you
people
will.
liked it. People liked it.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that seems neat.
Mhm.
Um, I will also give a quick shout out to Magic, as I kind of got back into Magic the Gathering this year with the Final Fantasy and Avatar sets coming out. So that was
Mhm.
played both some with my partner and also played some Magic Arena online. So
Nice.
first time dusting off Magic, my Magic brain in quite a few years. So
Mhm.
it's a good time.
Yeah, how many
But yeah.
land, you know?
Yeah. Hmm. But yeah, Will's number 10, Anode Heart, Layer Null. That seems neat.
Mhm.
All right, that brings us to my number 10, which I have a feeling we may be talking about later. My number 10 for the year is Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector.
Yep, we will talk about that later.
Had a feeling. All right, so wrapping around back to you, Nate. What is your number 9 for the year?
Definitely not a game that we will circle back to later. One that I put a little bit of time into, but would want to get back to sink my teeth into, and know it was good enough what I played that it deserves to be on my list. Is Hollow Knight Silksong.
And we will talk about that later.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
You're up again, Will.
Yay! All right.
Sorry, Nate. Did you say you do or don't want to get back to Silksong later?
I do.
Okay.
If I said it incorrectly, I do definitely want to get back to it. I just need to like get in the right headspace and just like dedicate the time to it.
Yeah, that might be one where you want to like kind of clear off your game slate a little bit to
Yes.
like just kind of dig in. Yeah, because it's a chunky one.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Will, what is your number 9 for the year?
My number 9 is the game called Goodnight Universe. I don't guess either of you played Goodnight Universe.
I am not
I did
familiar.
not.
All right. So it's by the developers of Beyond Your Eyes. I think it's called
I did
Beyond
play
Your
that.
Before Your Eyes.
Before Your Eyes. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why I keep saying that. But anyway, it also uses kind of a eye tracking mechanic. I thought that I actually didn't use the eye tracking mechanic and still love the game, but I feel like it might have enhanced my experience a little bit if I did use the eye tracking.
I
But
guess
essentially,
you need some kind of extra hardware for the eye tracking, or what do you need for that?
oh, I think it's just a webcam.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
Yeah,
so.
because I
Okay.
did use it in
Before Your Eyes.
Before Your Eyes. I did use
Yeah,
the eye
Yeah,
tracking.
I think you just have to give the game permission to use your webcam, and then it works.
Huh.
Yeah,
Because
but
for Before Your Eyes, it was just blinking. It wasn't like actual eye tracking. Was it, or was it?
oh, I thought it was. I thought that was kind of
Oh,
how it was doing it, but
oh,
maybe
maybe
it's
it was eye tracking. I don't remember.
I
Anyway,
I
continue.
have
I'm
yeah,
interrupting.
dude, I don't know. I mean, I would have to go look it up. I assume that it would have worked if I just had a webcam, but
Yeah,
I don't have a webcam on my main gaming computer. But the basic premise is that, and I don't want to spoil it because it's not a very long game and it is a very good game. But there's a higher intelligence that is occupying the body of a baby, and it becomes kind of evident that this intelligence is like very, very smart, like seasoned, and maybe even smarter than the people who are caring for the child. Um, and so it's a really touching, heartfelt, amazing story. But I think where it really connected with me personally is in that sort of mind body dualism, you know. So one thing is that even though this higher consciousness is in the baby is still in there too. And there are
Right.
times where the higher consciousness maybe just has to kind of take care of the body of the child and respond to the wants of the body of the child. And I guess for me, this is really kind of profound because I have a pretty antagonistic relationship with my body. Basically, you know, I think it kind of sucks, even though there are times that it's kind of amazing what it can do. But also, I struggle with things like, getting good exercise and eating right consistently and things like this. And so, even though the more we learn about neuroscience, the more we know that there isn't really a mind body division, it still sometimes I think is a helpful framework for me because I'm kind of like, look, I need to do what's necessary to help this hardware run well, you know, although there are a lot of times that can be very easy for me to kind of override that, and I think that's one of the things that I've worked on in my own life over the past year is how do I respond like when my body tells me that I need to take a break, like how do I hear that? How do I hear that? And how do I act on that and respond to it? And Goodnight Universe is sort of like a very like loving, touching meditation on this concept of caring for your physical body told through the medium of a really compelling sci-fi story. And so I thought it was just amazing. I mean, there's a little gameplay part in it that's a little bit irritating, but that was a very brief piece of the
Did,
overall experience.
did
And
they do a forced stealth section?
they did this section where you're trying to move these security bots out of the way, and the bots tend to move right back into the way fairly quickly. So you kind of have to time when you move them. And it was just kind of a nuisance. But like I said, it's probably less than 10 minutes of the game. And I think it's like a 3.5 hour game, 3 hour game. But yeah, it's a cool thing, and I'm glad I played it. I think I actually saw it on one of the lists that Flex posted in the Discord. And I was like, this looks kind of cool and it seems sort of short. So let me try and see it. And it ended up really being a hit for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks super cool.
Yeah,
I want to play this.
yeah, I think I want to play it as well. And I liked Beyond Your Eyes. I've literally not heard of Goodnight Universe until just now. And didn't realize it was by the same people. So yeah, that looks cool.
It's a good thing, man.
Cool deal. Wheels number 9, Goodnight Universe. And my number 9 is I think a game neither of you played, but my number 9 for the year was Shinobi: Art of Vengeance.
I have not
Nice.
played this.
It's
What do
on
you
my
guys think?
short list.
Yeah, what do you guys think of ninjas?
They're pretty cool.
I think ninjas are pretty cool. I think Joe Musashi is a really cool ninja as well, and
Joe.
playing as Joe is really funny. His name is Joe Musashi, and
Yeah.
he never speaks. So they're like, is voice acting and dialogue, and people will be like Joe, we think this bad guy's over here. What do you want to do about it? And literally all of his voice acting is just, ugh. It's just like a little affirmative grunt or something, and
Yeah.
the like written dialogue is always just ellipses dot dot dot, and then they're like, "Yeah, you're right, Joe. We should go." It's so funny.
People are just reading whatever they want onto Joe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're just like, well, this is what I want him to say. So this is what he's saying, you know?
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is a revival. I assume all of that comes from the classic Shinobi games from the 80s and early 90s, and it's, kind of those holdovers from an old game that they just kind of have fun with a little bit
Right.
on that front. Because naming a ninja Joe is a very 80s thing. But anyway, yeah, it's just a super cool action game, like 2D side scrolling, has incredible art, incredible animations. The combat is super fun and super slick. I really like the combat in this game. Um, and yeah, you get some really fun abilities, and there's kind of a light collectible. Some people have called it a Metroidvania, but it's kind of too linear for that. But there are things to like collect in the levels, in the linear series of levels you go through. Um, and really for me, it's the art and the vibe and the music are all great, and the combat is also great. I think this is like one of my favorite like 2D action game combat. Like the combat in this game is like top tier for me. The combat specifically. So yeah, it's just a really fun. There's kind of not a whole lot to say about it in some ways. It's just one of those. It's like, yeah, this is just a really good like 2D side-scrolling action game, and a really good kind of comeback of sorts for Shinobi. But very very modernized. Like it's a very modernized version of Shinobi as well. Like it feels like a good modern game to play.
Yeah, this is definitely one that I want to play and have picked up in a recent sale. So is on my short list. And you're right, like just seeing it moving, like even without playing it, which I know the play probably adds another layer to like how awesome it is. But just watching it, like all the visual feedback you're getting in combat is just like out of this world good.
Yeah, yeah, it looks good all the time, and like especially when you're moving through the world, and like the background art and like the way the enemies move, the way you move, and yeah, the way combat feels. You're right; it has great visual feedback. Um, just a lot of fun stuff. And you got wall jumps, you got air dashes, you got grappling hooks. You got all the fun things.
It's all there.
Yeah. And they also do a really good job with the set pieces and the levels, like keeping the variety. Like it's like a 10 to 15 hour game, depending on how much collectible stuff you do, and it felt fresh and fun the whole way through.
Nice.
But yeah, that was my number 9 game of the year, Shinobi: Art of Vengeance. Nate, what is your number 8 game of the year?
My number 8 game, which I am currently playing, is Battlesuit Aces.
Oh, you nailed it.
Did I get it? Was that?
You did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
I am also in the middle of playing this. It is not on my list, mainly because I haven't played enough to feel like I'm confident of putting it on my list, but I have been playing it and I have liked it. Do you have this on your list, Will?
I don't, but it was on that sort of additional list.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a different year it would have made a top 10 for me.
Yeah. I have been enjoying it. But Nate, what do you like about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like a really cool. I mean, I guess you could call it a deck builder. It is kind of a deck builder. We have a lot of deck builders between us.
Yep, there's more to come.
There's more to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're kind of building a squad of I'm blanking on the word, but
mechs.
Pilots and their mechs and drones, and building out your spaceship, and all of those abilities kind of feed into your deck, and you have a colorful cast of characters who all have a lot of like interpersonal drama and dialogue and camaraderie, and like just has a lot of personality to the game's characters and their interactions with each other, and like how they kind of fit into the story and all that. I have not finished it, so I can't say like definitively that it sticks the landing on everything, but what I have played so far, like really enjoying, just the character interactions and building out my mix and finding combos that are fun to pull off, and just kind of exploring this very like anime sci-fi mech universe, and seeing just like constantly uncovering, I could do this if I put these two people next to each other. I can kind of bounce damage off of enemies, and then get like trigger abilities on each other, and like get this really like crazy feedback loop going between all of the different abilities, and playing off of all the enemy abilities, which are constantly varying from every encounter. Like it feels good. It scratches like a very particular itch of like tactical deck building for me, and on top of that, like looks great, has great voice acting, good writing,
really good soundtrack too. Like I was surprised at the soundtrack. And like I don't know that any of us here are like mecha anime fans, like that genre,
right.
But it's clearly the genre it's going for.
Yeah.
And I think the soundtrack really nails that vibe. And you did like the voice, like they do the voice every time there's like a new episode or something, and like they're clearly going for that vibe. And I think all the audio stuff really works for that.
Yeah, and it's just like very unapologetic, like about all of that, and just about like it's generally like a pretty positive game, and like the characters are all super positive, and they're just jazzed about everything. And like I don't know, it's just an enjoyable thing every time I sit down with it.
My favorite Battlesuit Aces thing to talk about, I mean, one, I loved all of the kind of what you'd call deck building pieces, and especially the sort of additions, like the add-ons that you can add to the suits to kind of like
all the mods are crazy how much you can customize things.
Yeah, that stuff is awesome. But I remember at one point there's this dopey scientist, and I don't know if dopey's the right word. High strung. We'll say high strung. There's this really high strung scientist, and he gets hurt. And hopefully I'm not giving too much away. This doesn't happen. It's relatively soon in the game, but he gets hurt, and the next time the next episode starts, and then the game goes Battle Suit Aces. I'm like, oh no, now we're sad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just good. It has so much personality. And like, yeah, all the combinations and stuff you can do. One thing that I just did today when I was playing a little bit of it, it has like in the simulation lab or whatever, you do like little one-turn puzzles to try to figure out like how to win a certain area in one turn, which is always fun in these kinds of games because you get to see some like really bizarre interactions play out. And that was the first. So today I did one that was the first time I had seen the interaction of like being able to reflect damage and having damage whenever you take damage. No, it wasn't reflecting damage. It's just the thorns where you deal damage to somebody when they deal damage to you. But then compared that with an enemy ability that does damage to you every time you deal damage to it. And so it was like an infinite bounce back scenario between that character and the enemy until the high health enemy died. It was very funny.
That is funny because usually in deck builders those interactions will be like only once per turn.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that.
Yeah, this is just unlimited.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Yeah, I've been playing this and enjoying it as well, and Will said he liked it as well. So yeah, Nate's number 8 for the year, Battle Suit Aces. All right, Will, what is your number 8 for the year?
All right, my number 8 is a game called Heroes of the Seven Islands. It is a fairly lightweight very indie RPG. And I think what initially caught my attention is that all of the art is kind of hand drawn by the developer, and it looks pretty goofy, but also like I was like, man, I want to see how functional this thing is with this ridiculous art. And
So I just want to I just pulled up screens. I just want to clarify for anyone listening who hasn't seen this. Hand-drawn art can mean a lot of different things. There's some incredible hand-drawn art out there.
Yes,
this is like a 12-year-old open Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what it looks like. It's funny because you were saying it's a very indie game as I was pulling it up and seeing some of the art, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay. But it also, I also want to add an addendum to like this clarification that yes, it looks like Microsoft Paint art, but it also doesn't look bad.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad. It just looks very rudimentary.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the things that's fun to me about the game is like each of the basically all the different locations are kind of just these flat surfaces, and then you just see whatever it was you'd see from one kind of straight on head on perspective. And if you see little like holes in the trees or like a grate in the ground, you can just click these different things with your mouse and you'll find stuff in them, which is kind of a funny thing. So every scene you go to, you might have an enemy encounter, you might talk to like an NPC, but also there's always stuff in the frame that you can kind of click on and interact with, and trying to find what's everything that's in the frame or clicking on that stuff is just kind of a little charming piece of it. But you're bouncing between these islands trying to collect these different some sort of MacGuffin. Each island kind of has one. And then you have these classes that you start with, but then you can kind of evolve them based on different things that you can find. So I had this sort of rogue or something that I could then evolve into a thief, and then I could evolve it from a thief into an assassin. And I had to sort of find this sort of hidden hideout, like that's back in the back of these woods, to be able to find the trainer that allows me to do that. But the whole time I just thought I was very charmed by the whole experience. I kind of, as soon as I finished it, I kind of wanted to start again and just sort of see what kind of, what other characters I could play with, like what other classes I could play with, how I could evolve those, and I thought the abilities were just kind of interesting. So yeah, that was it. Heroes of the Seven Islands, and I think in some ways, there's not, it may not hit quite the highs of some of the other games, but I didn't feel like it really did anything wrong. So I think I was just like, wow, this is just thoroughly solid the whole way. And I think right now it looks like it's got 103 Steam reviews and 100% of them are positive. So I don't think I'm the only person who feels that way about it. But it's a good time.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the videos of it, like charming seems like the right word. It's like
Mm-hmm.
just very,
Yeah.
very, very cool, like look and ideas going on here. And it sounds like you felt like the RPG stuff was well fleshed out.
Yeah, I had a little build. I had like, this character does this sort of thing, and
Yeah.
this, and the abilities that you find are pretty creative and interesting too. So it's not like, oh, here's big fireball. It seems like some of the stuff you find is just like, oh, this is interesting. And so I can turn that creature into an int for a minute, like from Lord of the Rings or something like that. So some of that stuff's neat. But yeah, that's my number. I guess 8, right? That's where we're at.
Yeah, that's where we're
Heroes
at.
of the Seven Islands.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I appreciate, Will, that I've pulled up every game you talked about on Steam, and I think all of them have had like less than 500 user reviews, but they're all extremely positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm digging around,
You're finding the gems.
I do what I can.
All right. My number 8, I'm guessing it didn't make Nate's list. I know you played at least a little bit of it. Donkey Kong Bananza.
Yeah, did not make my list. I did not play enough of it.
Mm-hmm. All good.
Banana.
Yeah. Banana. Yeah, you're finding a lot of bananas.
It's true.
The bonanza of bananas. And every time, I mean, anyone who's played the game will know this, but I still appreciate the fact that every time you pick up a banana, it goes, ooh, banana.
Dang.
It's
If
good.
that happened every time you picked up a banana in Donkey Kong Country, it would just be an endless ooh, but ooh, but ooh, but
Yeah.
ooh, but ooh.
It's even in this game, it's fairly endless.
Yeah.
There are, I think when I finished playing, I had 600 something bananas.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Banandium gems. That's what they're
Banandium
actually called in the game's canon. Because they're like crystal bananas or something.
Banana.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
They use the word Banandium all throughout that game. Like everything's powered by Banandium.
That is pretty, that's excellent. I like it.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, this is like simultaneously the next game from the Mario Odyssey team. So it has a lot of Mario DNA in it as well. And it's also like the first really good 3D Donkey Kong game. Because like there was Donkey Kong 64, which I know some people like, also not a great game necessarily, but like I think this game is really good. And it is largely a collectathon, like a 3D collectathon, but I think they found the right balance of putting in a lot of collectibles. But you don't really have to. You don't have to find any of them. You don't have to get any bananas in this game. Like you can just you can treat it like a linear game and just go through. And then as you collect the bananas, you get skill points to put in a skill tree. And the skill tree doesn't make a huge difference, but it is something. Like you can get more health and you can get a couple new moves and like you can make your existing abilities better. So I appreciated that. I enjoyed roaming the world and collecting the bananas. My favorite stuff about this game is just roaming the world, platforming, punching through stuff. This was a game that within the first 30 seconds of playing it and punching through those first rocks in the like first little tutorial room, I was like, this game has amazing game feel. It's like that was the main thing that I felt right out the gate. And that's what carried me the whole way through the game. Like it's just really fun to punch shit.
Yeah.
And It also makes me wonder, like, why more games, people talk about like geomod tech and red faction and all that stuff, and it's like, why don't more games, like, this is decades later from red faction, like, why don't more games do that type of stuff? And
Yeah.
it's like,
It's
it's
so
still,
fun in every game that has it. You
yeah,
Yeah,
know?
yeah, I agree. And I thought it was
because
super fun here the whole way through. Like, I spent way longer than I should have in the first level in Donkey Kong Bonanza, just punching everything, just digging through everything, because it's just fun.
yeah, no, it is, and this is a game that I tried playing some with my kids, and like handing them the controller at the start of the game and being like, I don't know, there are 3 different punch buttons. Try those out. And they're just
Yeah.
like, okay, and just like demolish the whole like first area, just taking out all the chunks of rock they can and tossing them around at things. And it is
Yeah.
that kind of game. But it also seems like, and I did not get far enough in to see this, but it also seems like it keeps escalating from there, and like you can find um like more diverse challenges and things like that hopefully later on in the game.
Yeah. The best platforming challenges are in these like side rooms. It's almost like the Mario Sunshine challenge
Yeah.
rooms where they take away your jetpack. It's kind of those kind of side rooms are where the platforming challenges are. In the main levels, it's never that challenging. It really is just about collecting.
Yeah.
Um, but they do, yeah, they do ramp up the challenge in the side rooms. They I think the levels have just enough variety. Like, each level is kind of centered around like one or two platforming ideas. So like each level kind of has a different focus, and I think that works. I think the transformations add new gameplay wrinkles, and there are 5 total. Those are all fun to play around with. The elephant is OP. Um,
Uh-huh.
and the whole look, like the way this is, Nintendo's kind of been heading towards this for a while, but I think this is like Nintendo's like first true like Pixar moment or Disney moment. Like,
Mm.
Nintendo's kind of the Disney of video games in a way, but like this game is just like it's part musical because Pauline is a singer, and like just the way the game animates and looks, it just has that like expressive Pixar look to it. Like,
Yeah, Donkey Kong's face in this game is very expressive.
yes, it is. Yeah, it's just a good time. The music's fun. The finale is bonkers. Um, it's just fun to play and dig around.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's something that you don't see a lot. I remember playing this game called Mercenaries 2 on the 360 a long time ago, and you could blow up buildings, and it was sort of like a physical in-game explosion that you could kind of watch happen around you, and you could get hit by debris. And I remember Red Faction Gorilla did a very similar thing where you could like knock down entire buildings with this giant sledgehammer, and it was
Hmm.
just like, I don't know, I found myself, it's almost hypnotic in a way to feel like you have such agency in the world that you're playing in.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the reasons that
and they,
Katamari can be
no, yeah,
a something too.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And they make. I don't want to sell this short because they make good use of the destructible terrain to hide the bananas. And it's not just, oh, there's a banana stuck in the mountain. Like, there's that too, but there's also like things where you have to be very intentional and careful about how you break the environment to be able to reach something. So like they kind of play around with that in all the different ways that you would hope and expect.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a good time. Donkey Kong Bonanza was my number 8. Um, Before we get to the number 7s, we are going to take a short break here just so we can use the bathroom or get some water if needed. But just a real quick break here, and we'll be right back and get into our number 7s. All right, welcome back. We are going to continue our Game of the Year countdown for 2025. We've gone through 10, 9, and 8. Now we're at the 7s. Nate, what is your number 7 Game of the Year?
My number 7 is Blueprints.
Blueprints may also be my number 7.
Whoa.
That's
Is
clearly
Blueprints
where
your
it
number
belongs.
7, Will?
Nope. That's all you got.
Okay.
All right, start us
All
off,
right.
Nate. What did you like about Blueprints?
Um, Blueprints is probably one of the most like impressively crafted puzzle mystery games I have ever seen. It is occasionally frustrating, but in a way that I think serves the game. And um, I guess just at a high level, right? Like we're talking about a exploration kind of mystery solving game of uncovering secrets, but also with
If you want the super reductive shorthand, they made a
uh
roguelite Mist.
a roguelike mist, yes. Where you're exploring a mansion with all these different rooms with different things hidden in them that can help you uncover parts of larger puzzles or mysteries that come into play elsewhere in the mansion. But notably, yes, it is kind of a roguelike structure where every day you start back at the beginning entry of the mansion and all the rooms are rearranged, including like it won't be the same rooms every time. So you'll just find completely different stuff run to run for a
Yeah, and it's
while
like
in this game.
when you open a door, it's like a random set of 3 rooms appear, and you get to choose one.
Yeah. Which is like a cool premise of like exploring an ever shifting house and like finding different things and also the kind of puzzly strategic layer of like which rooms am I gonna draft next to help me make progress deeper into the manor, and then that the layers that go on top of that of it becoming not just how do I progress deeper in the manor, how do I progress further along a specific like meta puzzle or meta secret that I'm curious about or feel like I need to solve to unlock something important. And that like layer upon layer upon layer, and there were layers that I definitely did not even reach of mystery in this game because it's so complex and dense. Like I can't even imagine the level of madness the developers suffered trying to put this game together.
And I'm pretty sure it was a largely one-person job. Like I think this was a
Yeah,
mostly solo dev.
I could see that, and it almost kind of makes it easier to imagine somebody being able to put all this together in their brain. Because if you had to talk to somebody about it while you were trying to make it, it would probably never work.
Yeah, just tried to get on the same page.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it is a really impressive thing about this game because I think this game is about 10 layers deep. And like I feel like I went 3 or 4 layers deep and I had a great time with it and I saw credits. And
yeah,
then I've read about and I probably spent like 30, 40 hours with it or something. And I've read people who are like, I did everything, solved every mystery. I spent 150 hours playing this game. It is one of my favorite games of all time. And it's like it's kind of a game that you can go as deep as you want, and it's you can kind of reach satisfying conclusion or benchmarks at different points and kind of tap out when you're done.
yeah.
And it kind of gives back as much as we want to put into it, as many layers as you want to dig.
Yep, for
But yeah,
sure. It's crazy. It's impressive. That's like the main thing for me is like I'm just super impressed by this game. I enjoyed playing it, even though I occasionally got frustrated and I didn't go super deep into it. But like I just have to give kudos because of like what a unique, cool thing it is and just how insane it is.
yeah. And I did have a lot of fun in what I played, and I think it's a really and Nate kind of touched on this earlier. It is a really unique it's even kind of hard to convey, but it's a really unique type of like problem solving. It's not just, oh, I'm solving a puzzle. It's like the way you have to think about arranging the rooms and what type of properties the different rooms have, how you need to conserve your resources, try and build a route. And it's not just getting, so like kind of the original goal they present to you is to reach room 46 in the back of the mansion. And it's not just building a path there. There are a lot of other conditions you have to meet along the way and things you have to unlock. And some of it persists between runs, some of it doesn't. and there are like mansion spanning puzzles. There are some puzzles that only exist in one room. It's kind of like every type of angle you can think of that you have to puzzle or think through something is there all at once. So you're really engaging with it on in multiple ways all the time.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah,
Cool game.
I reached room 46. I saw credits. I poked at playing a few more runs. I reached room 46 a couple more times, solved a couple things I was curious about, and then kind of just barely peeked into what was next and was like, "Oh, this is going to be a lot." I
Yeah.
think I'm going to play some other games now. But what I played
Yeah.
was super fun. I think just reaching room 46 in itself is a really fun exercise.
Yeah. And it will definitely have those like moments even leading up to that sort of main initial goal to hit credits where you'll find something and it will like click in your brain and recontextualize like 50% of what you thought you knew about this game. It's like, oh, this is a whole thing that I was completely unaware of, but now that I know it's a thing, I like see the code in the matrix, and that happens multiple times.
Yeah. And almost like a deck builder, they give you ways to kind of tweak your room deck and give you some ways to like shift the odds in your favor. So the longer you play, the more control you have over how you can build the manor, which is also
Yeah.
a neat way to keep it fresh or like to help you solve the mysteries. Yeah, it's a really cool and impressive game for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so that was both Nate and my number 7. Will, what is your number 7 game of the year?
Well, it's a game called And Roger.
I have heard of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did it make you cry?
It did.
Hmm.
It was sad. But
That's the one thing
you
I know
know,
about it.
yeah, and so it is one, I think it is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. I think most of us know someone or have had someone in our family who's been affected by like, dementia or Alzheimer's. I remember my grandmother, who had dementia. She would ask my brother and I like the same question, like over and over again. Back in this is a long time ago. She passed. I mean, this is probably back when I was in high school or maybe a little bit before. But I remember her doing that, and David and I would just kind of chuckle about it. We were like, well, it's kind of amusing. Didn't we just answer that, Grandma? But the idea of kind of stepping in the shoes of someone who's dealing with this, I think is really profound. It's really well done. I gave this game the most innovative gameplay on Steam for that Steam award because there's so much that it does with the interface to simulate, um, I guess, what you can imagine. And maybe what it actually is like to have dementia. So there are times where, you know, you're trying to click a button and then it will turn into something else, or you'll click it and you're supposed to drag it, and like a lot of the game, it's not so obtuse that you'll get stuck, but it's just tricky enough to sort of make everything a little bit harder. Everything is a little bit harder to navigate, everything's a little bit harder to figure out. um, and then, of course, it's not just the perspective of the sufferer that you're dealing with. I think it also really provides a lot of insight into the caretaker. And, that's something that I've dealt with students that I work with who are having to be caretakers of parents or grandparents, especially parents or grandparents who are dealing with, mental decline. Um, is I think it's kind of I think it's underappreciated how hard that work is to be a caretaker or to be a caretaker for someone who's in that situation. But you know, of course, like you said, it is kind of a rough thing to play. It's a rough kind of thing to experience. But I think it's a really important thing to experience. I mean, I think I played about 30 minutes. I think I remember it being like an hour, but I played about 30 minutes and then I kind of had to take a break because it was a bit heavy. And then I came back and played the second 30 minutes. But um, but I don't know. I just thought it was really, really well done. Really important game, and also a game that uses the medium of gaming to explore something in a way that I don't think could be done as effectively in another medium. You know, so so yeah, that's my number 7. It's And Roger.
Nice. I want to play this game, and I know I have to be in the right emotional state to be able to to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. I hear that.
Yeah, cool. And Roger. All right, so that my number 7 was also Blueprint. So we are back around to Nate for the number 6s. Nate, what is your number 6 game of the year?
Hey, have you heard about Pokemon?
What? What is a Pokemon?
Pocket Monster. No, okay. It's Pokemon Legends ZA is my number 6.
Nice.
So, this is a follow-up to Pokemon Legends Arceus, who, as Will knows, as Pokemon superfan, was kind of a departure from the standard format and kind of a spin-off of a Pokemon
that's what I
game.
said. That's what I said.
I know. I'm just rephrasing what you said.
We'll have Pokemon Legends Arceus on his list in 2022 if you want to go find our game of the year for that.
Yeah, go look at it. It's definitely there.
Yeah.
And so this is a follow-up to a spin-off of the Pokemon games, but it was the previous game Arceus was like a spin-off that I thought was super interesting and like really shook up the formula in a really cool and needed way. And I feel like while this game isn't exactly like Arceus, and it doesn't even necessarily have some of the things that I really liked from Legends Arceus, it takes that formula and kind of refines it and actually kind of builds a more middle ground almost between what's the classic traditional Pokemon game, like Scarlet and Violet was the last mainline generation Pokemon games that tried to do a little bit more open world stuff. And I feel like Legends ZA actually builds like a good middle ground between like the more action heavy, more loose like style of Arceus, where you're just like running through the fields, flinging Pokeballs everywhere, like dodge rolling, and getting into scuffles with Pokemon that way. And the more traditional turn-based games, like they've been forever, I think ZA finds like a really good middle ground for me that I've been really happy with. And I don't know. I think like in some ways it feels to me like this is the evolution that I want from Pokemon. This is what I want to see them continue with, is being in an open environment, having to physically move and dodge and sneak and throw Pokeballs to interact with the world and the Pokemon in the world, but still having like, it's not turn-based combat, but has like your Pokemon have 4 abilities and they're on cooldowns, so you're kind of managing cooldowns and positioning a little bit. Like it just feels like a really good middle ground. And also, as opposed to Arceus, it actually, at least on the Switch 2, actually runs pretty well and looks pretty good.
I've actually heard that it runs well on the Switch 1 too.
Yeah.
Which is
so that's
like the second Pokemon game that runs well on the Switch 2 or the Switch 1.
Right. Right.
After
so it's like a low bar, but after Arceus and Scarlet and Violet being technical messes, like this game feels and looks good and runs well, and that is a nice thing to see from the Pokemon company that has all the money in the world and should not be having technical problems.
Do you think they intentionally set this game in a city so they wouldn't have to deal with draw distance?
Probably. But yeah, I mean, it is legitimately super fun. I'm having a really good time with it. I have not finished it yet, but I definitely will. You have like a fairly linear storyline to go through, but you can explore a lot of the world, the city at your own pace and leisure, and there's lots of items to find and side quests to do. And um, if you are into like character customization and like outfitting your trainer with the most stylish clothes, there are about 500,000 clothes shops in this game, all with different items. So that is there if that's your thing. um, but yeah, I just think it's like a really good, well executed Pokemon fantasy in a style that I really enjoy playing.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, this is one on my list to play. Um, my partner's been playing it and she's really liking it as well. And she does spend a lot of time changing outfits and shopping for
Yep,
clothes.
it's there.
Um,
You can do it.
yeah, you can. Um, I guess two comments slash questions. One, I played Legends Arceus, and that was immediately like the most fun I'd had with a Pokemon game in like a decade or more.
Yep.
To the point where I'm almost kind of like I am like the Legends series. I think is just the better Pokemon series at this point. Are you kind of there too?
Yeah, I mean, I would take this over uh, a direct follow up to Scarlet and Violet in that style any day. Um,
Yeah. And then the other question is, and this is something I've heard a lot, so I'm curious your take on it. The way the combat's done with cooldowns, do you feel like it makes moves like Leer or Growl or those kind of like statusy things more useful because it's may not necessarily be worth having all four attack options. It might be worth mixing in some status effects now, whereas in the turn-based ones, it's kind of not always worth it.
yeah, I think there's definitely an argument for that. I don't know, like on the min maxing realm, like how it actually would shake out, and it's
Mm.
still a Pokemon game, so like it doesn't really matter because it's not
It's
very challenging.
yeah, it's probably very easy.
But
Yeah,
but yes, I think there's a much better case to be made for like move variety on your team being useful because of like you can't just spam the same best attack you have over and over every turn like you can in a traditional turn-based Pokemon game because it will just be on cooldown and you'll just be sitting there looking at the other Pokemon while it's hitting you if you're just waiting for that one attack over and over. So yeah, having variety is definitely um, a potential bonus to this game's system, although I can't say for sure that it matters.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you finished the game?
I haven't finished it, so
What
it
what
does
letter
have
rank are you?
F. Yes, I think I'm
Okay,
F.
okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah, so there's like a linear story that largely seems to revolve around you ranking up through kind of like a battle royale style
From rank Z to
tournament
A.
from rank Z to rank A. I don't know how much of the game there is after you reach rank A. I assume that's kind of where you get to the finale area, but I don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the story is linear, but it is a pretty good open world. And as you rank up and do things, new wild zones are unlocked on the map where you can go find and catch new Pokemon.
Hmm.
So it still does have that kind of progression. Like you can't just go catch any Pokemon you want from the very beginning of the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, that was Pokemon Legends ZA. I'm also looking forward to playing this. And we will move on to Will. What is your number six game of the year?
My number 6 game is entitled Doorkickers 2 Task Force North.
I remember you being a big fan of the first Doorkickers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
good. I call it, I don't really know a good way to call it, but it's like I call it stop and go tactics. So, usually in co-op, you're trying to take this sort of special forces SWAT type team into a building, into some sort of facility, and there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, you could be rescuing hostages, you could be defusing bombs, you could be just breaching and clearing. You could be arresting. There are some times that you need to sort of arrest a certain target, and you use your mouse to kind of draw the routes that your characters will go in, and usually you'll pause, then you'll draw a route, and so you might say, I want this guy to go here, and then I want him to stop, and then throw a flashbang through the window, and then I want him to pause for a second as the flashbang blows up, and then I'll have him move on alpha, and I'll hit alpha when I want him to jump through the window, and then he'll like turn this way and make sure he's clear in this direction, and then he'll turn his gun this way and clear that direction, and it's it's a really nice oscillation of sort of planning and then execution. So you're planning for you might draw a plan, and it might take you or your co-op partner a minute or a minute and a half, and then you're like, all right, we ready? And then you'll go, and everything happens pretty fast. Your guys can go down really fast. I mean, you could clear the guys, you can get put down, whatever. That can all happen very fast, and then you'll pause it again, and you're like, all right, we need to kind of regroup and come up with a new plan, and then go forward. And there's tons of levels. I don't even know. I think I completed all the levels but one, and that one kind of had a little bit too much RNG for me. But I played almost 36 hours of it. So there's a lot of these levels, and all of them are pretty quick. It doesn't, even though they can be pretty challenging, you can kind of get in and out. But it's just really satisfying to kind of play. And I think there's a lot of there are different classes, different weapons, different armors, different approaches, strategies. I remember one little quick anecdote I will say, and then I'll kind of leave it here. Was I remember us having to toggle our guys to not engage as soon as they saw an enemy, because by default that's what they do. And then I moved them all around this car dealership, and there were probably 4 or 5 of them, maybe 6 of our guys that we moved around this car dealership, and they all had open windows, and the lights were on inside, but it was dark outside, and so they couldn't see us, but we could see them. But it was still kind of precarious to get into position, and then we hit that pause, and then all of a sudden we took all of our guys to weapons free, and then sort of unpaused it, and then it was almost like 2 seconds, and then all the enemies inside of the car dealership were killed, and all the hostages were just like sitting there with their hands bound, and it was just like one
That's
of the most
satisfying.
satisfying. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
just like, oh my god, this was so sick, because it took so long to kind of set it up, and I think we had lost the mission 2 or 3 times before we actually figured out a way to surround it without being seen. And
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just a really fun little cooperative tactics thing, and I still haven't really played anything that I would describe in the same way, where it's like, I mean, you could technically play the game real time and just draw the plans as you're doing them actively, and you'd probably
That
get
sounds hard.
wrecked. Yeah, you probably get wrecked. But but yeah, there's just a lot of cooperation, coordination. Sometimes we'd have one guy who was, a marksman who was kind of covering our other guys. I had one guy who I was a big fan of, who would just always like, crash the boards with a shotgun. And then I would always have someone in the back who was kind of like watching him, because he was really vulnerable until he got up close. And you can do things like there are breaching charges. There are like cameras that you can look underneath the doors with. You can actually create your own entry with these breaching charges. So like, even if there's not a door there, you can just blow a hole in the wall and be like, this is where I'm coming in. But yeah, I just, something about it just really, really, really jives with me. I really dig these games, and it also had a really fantastic soundtrack. I was listening to the soundtrack the other day when I was doing some painting with a friend of mine. We were painting some minis, and we were rocking out to Doorkickers 2 soundtrack as we were painting. But it's a really good time, in my opinion.
Nice. Yeah, that seems cool. All right, that was Will number 6. Doorkickers to Task Force North.
Yeah, and it's been in early access since like 2020, but I was waiting for the full release to really dive in.
I will say I'm a little disappointed in you, Will. This game has over 7,000 English reviews on Steam.
Streak broken.
Yeah.
Yep, sorry.
You've gone too mainstream.
Oh, God.
I tease. Yeah, that game looks cool.
Yeah.
All right, that was Will's number 6. My number 6 is a game I know you played, Will. So I don't know if you have it on your list. It is Sunderfolk.
That's again, that's one of those, it would be on a list in another year. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's real good. Yeah, this is kind of like the obvious touchstone is something like Gloomhaven, which all of us have played Gloomhaven, and this is a digital video game that kind of has a similar type of tactical flow to it. You like kind of pick abilities to use each turn. Enemies are going to do actions kind of drawn from a deck. Kind of a similar downtime in between where you can go shop and like do some events and stuff like that. Um, but I like it because I mean I like Gloomhaven, but I also like this because it's a very slick way to do it in digital form. Like there is a digital version of Gloomhaven, and I've kind of messed around with it because it was a free on Epic Game Store at some point. But it doesn't like the digital version of Gloomhaven just doesn't have the same appeal as the physical board game version. It just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't. It is the same game functionally. It just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. But with Sunderfolk, I think they found a really good way to make it a digital game, and you actually control it with your phone. So the game is on the screen, but each player plays on their phone, which is really nice because then everyone can look at their own information, their own character stats. When you're in town, they can go to different shops on their own, equip gear, look at their cards, sort through their information, and then the actual battlefield is on the screen. So it just works. That setup just works really well. Kind of keeps things moving because people can kind of do things at the same time. They can kind of look at their cards and pick their actions at the same time. Um, and the tactics itself I think are fun. Like I think they came up with cool classes, cool abilities, interesting synergies to do, different enemy types and different challenges. Like we definitely had different scenarios that provided different challenges that we would struggle with in different ways and have to think like, ooh, maybe I should bring different cards in my deck this time because you can only bring so many, so you kind of have to think about what you want to equip, and each class kind of has different mechanics they can play with. And I just found it like a really well made game in this format digitally. And I think that's the really impressive thing about it. And I had a really good time playing through this with my partner. At some point we might go back and kick it up to hard and try different classes. Because I would definitely enjoy playing more of it. It's just a well done. The story and characters I could take or leave. They're not very good. So like the presentational aspects I think are really the only thing I'd knock it for too much. But yeah, it's just like if you like Gloomhaven type board games and want a digital, like something digitally in that space, like this is a really good way to play something like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought it was a really good time too. I mean, um, I think the main thing that hard adds is, and I'm not sure if this is in the normal difficulty, every mission has a time limit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so you kind of have to be just a little bit more efficient. But there's, even in a single playthrough, at least for us, there were two classes that we didn't see at all. And I would actually be interested in playing it again
Mm-hmm.
just to see those other two classes. One thing that's kind of neat about this
And
game.
that's kind of the main reason we would want to play again because we only did two people, so we only saw two of the six classes.
Okay. Yeah, we
So
did two apiece. So
yeah.
yeah. Um, the other thing I guess that's kind of neat about it is um, you could like screen share and basically play with as many people as you would. Because
Yeah.
even though it's technically a local game, because you play on your phone, you could just have someone share a screen, and as long as everyone else could see the screen, you could have up to three other players on their phones at the same time, which is kind of like a not advertised but cool feature that you can do.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Kind of like how people stream like Jackbox or something and people join with their phones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I did play it locally. And like people throw around the term couch co-op a lot. I actually did play it on the couch in co-op, and it was one of the most fun, like some of the most fun I've had actually doing that with a video game in quite a while.
Nice.
But yeah, that was my number 6. That is Sunderfolk. We have reached the top 5, the cream of the crop. Nate, what is your
Yes.
number 5 game of 2025?
All right. It's a game you had earlier. Citizen
Mm.
Sleeper 2, Starward Vector is my number 5.
Do you have that one on your list, Will?
It's another one of those 10, man, but it was
Another one of
very
those
good.
on the
Very
bubble,
good.
yeah.
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 All right, and Nate, kick it off. What did you like so much about Citizen Sleeper 2?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff I like about Citizen Sleeper 2 is a lot of the same stuff I liked about Citizen Sleeper 1, which was, I think, my favorite game of the year that it came out.
That was both of
Um,
your favorite game that year.
Yeah,
yeah, I think
it
that's
was.
right. And this does a lot of the same things really well, just like a really well fleshed out sci-fi world that has a lot of interesting uh, ideas about consciousness and choices and how people interact with each other and the wider world and how they think about their place in things. And so it continues a lot of those kind of themes, but also like a really simple but cool kind of dice board game mechanic of like having your dice pool and managing that as your primary resource. Like all that stuff just works for me, and this game does all the same things that I liked from Citizen Sleeper 1 in that way. It does change up the formula in some ways with like building a crew and um, kind of bouncing around a like galaxy map between different areas, whereas the first game was very focused on one space station. So it kind of does have a different feel, like you're seeing a wider lens of the universe, but that also means you don't get quite the like level of like depth that you maybe got from the first game on the station and the characters you interacted with there. Um, but it's
I do think
different.
you get similar. Tell me if you disagree with this. I do think you get similar depth with the crew you pick up along the way because
The
they
crew,
travel with
yes,
you. But I
yes,
get what you're
definitely.
saying about the place, and I would agree with that. Like
Yeah, the
the
places
space
feel
station,
shallower,
yeah.
but that's the price you pay for having 10 to 15 different locations instead of one, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but it definitely gives like a better view of like what this world is like and how the major factions work and play into things. But also it like keeps a level of mystery that I think is pretty impressive um, for a sequel that does kind of take a wider view. Like you're still kind of in like a weird outskirts kind of pocket of the galaxy, and there's like a lot of very clear stuff about like serious war and events going on elsewhere that you're kind of like seeing the tangential effects of like sweep into your area. And I think that stuff is handled super well because it's not a game about war, but it's a game about people struggling in like a really shitty society um, that is partially disabled because of war and corporate greed and all of those things. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting game. I think it does kind of build on a lot of the themes and stylistic trappings of the first game. It didn't obviously hit me as hard because it is a sequel and does a lot of the same things, but I still really really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty fantastic game. There's I think that to me the highlight was when you actually well, I guess I can't say this. I don't want to spoil anything, but essentially there is a character that you meet that gives you it sort of like gives you a perspective on what you were like kind of before the first game or during the first game, you know. So that was kind of fascinating in some ways to kind of witness the growth or the way that your character has changed throughout this series. But yeah, so I really, but it was a good time. I had a great time playing Citizen Sleeper. The one thing I think that was kind of rough, and I don't know if you felt this way, Nate, is that the crew members, to me, their skills weren't substantial enough to really make any kind of difference when I was on the missions. It
Mm,
always felt like, it felt like maybe they would give me like one extra roll, but
yeah.
compared to my skills, like, I would be like, all right, let me take this guy. And then he'd roll like 2 2s. And then I'd be
Yeah.
like, and then he has like +1 to one stat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, man, I don't want to send you to do anything.
Yeah. That would happen sometimes for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would get the bad rolls, and like it would be nice that my crew members would come in clutch when I really needed them.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, in general, your character is like exponentially more skilled and adaptable than any of the crew members you have. So there is a little bit of that.
Which does
Yeah.
make sense narratively too, because you're a sleeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You're the
but
big
yeah,
dog.
they would come through, like you said, in the clutch for me sometimes. Like your
Mhm.
character is definitely better, but um, they weren't nothing either. They would help out.
I did think that kind of wrapper of the contracts that you would do was like a cool addition, because it was like takes you out of like the wider galaxy, and it's like, okay, we're gonna really focus on this like little bit more nuanced and complicated scenario, and you have to kind of puzzle your way through that with the crew and the skills that you bring. So I really liked that as a way to kind of give you some of what the first game did really well in within the broader context.
Yeah, the contracts were the main thing I was going to bring up if you didn't, because um, the first thing you said, the very first thing you said, which was, yeah, this game does a lot of the same good stuff that the first one did, I think is true. And like a lot of that, the first game did do really well as well. I think I like Citizen Sleeper 2 more than the first one, and I think it's mostly because of the contracts. Because with those, they found a way to keep the tension up through the whole game, because no matter how many resources you stockpile, money you have, like rations you have, no matter how much stuff you stockpile, you carry a limited set of it with you into the contracts. So the contracts always maintain that tension, which makes some of the choices you have to make in the contracts like feel pretty potentially dire. It's like, ooh, do I want to go this direction? But there could be a cave in or something if we don't, roll well, or but there could be benefit. It's like you kind of have to weigh those choices more, which happened early in the first game, but I definitely was just like flush with resources to the point like the back half of the first game, there was no tension in anything anymore. So I
Yeah.
I did like that about the contracts in this game, is they were able to keep the tension up in those scenarios.
Yeah, and they use them super well for like big narrative, like important set piece moments and gut
Hmm.
punches. Is like these are when things are going to get serious.
Yep. Yeah, because like the kind of premise is you're on the run from someone through most of the game, if not the whole game. And there was one kind of set piece in the middle, or maybe a little past halfway through, that is you're kind of on this guy's turf, and it was like a really intense sequence.
Yeah,
And they gameplay wise, they played it like a contract, so it just really had a lot of tension to it, and kind of narrative injected tension as well.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think this is just like a super solid sci-fi RPG. Like even if you didn't play the first game, I think this is worth playing. It has some
Yeah.
cool narrative hooks that are nice to haves if you played the first game. Like Will was alluding to earlier, like there are characters that show up and there are things that tie back very clearly to the first game. But um, yeah, I would recommend this to anybody
Yeah.
who thinks that the sci-fi world seems cool, or the dice rolling RPG kind of management system is cool. Like
Hmm.
it's very good.
Yeah, and the writing's very good.
Yeah, the writing is top notch.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely think you can play this one on your own, but also the first game is still really good, so you can play that
Yeah,
too.
you should still play both of them.
Yeah. All right, that was Citizen Sleeper 2, Nate's number 5, and it was my number 10 that I mentioned earlier. Moving on to Will, what is your number 5 game of the year?
My number 5 is Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon.
I
So,
remember looking at this, yes.
yeah,
This is
I
this
think
is
you
the
might have
Morrowind
actually,
like
yeah, I think you might have said something in the Discord chat about like, hey, Will and Paul, I think you guys would like this. And I tried the demo and was getting my ass beat, and and then finally, I think I was like, well, I don't have anything else I want to play right now, and I'd really like to get into one of these sort of Bethesda likes, and it very much is a Bethesda like. I mean, there are these, you know. You're jumping around, leveling up your acrobatics, and running around, leveling up your athletics. Like those types of things are going on. Um, I think the things that really sort of caught my attention, one is it's not an easy game, and so I think that was kind of an interesting piece of it for me is that there were a lot of fights that I would have to kind of back away from and then go and get better gear, try a new strategy, and then come back and try. And that's not something I'm used to having happen in some of the Bethesda games. They're a little bit easier in general.
I mean, and generally in like open world action games or RPGs, I feel like that's so rare to feel like you have to bounce off of things and come back.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was actually
yeah.
going to ask, do you know, because like especially in like Oblivion and Skyrim and Fallout, the Bethesda Fallout games, like and a lot of those enemies scale with you in levels, so they're kind of always appropriate difficulty. Do you know if in this game they do or if they're static?
Feel like they might be static, actually.
Yeah,
And
which
so
can
that's
often make it harder.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I didn't, that didn't bother me. In some
Yeah, yeah.
ways, I thought it was kind of interesting, for the game world, and the game world is just fascinating. It's this sort of like dark Camelot. I mean, the basic idea is that like, you know, over and over, it seems like they have resurrected King Arthur to come and like save the world. And every time they do that, it seems like he saves the world and he goes away again. And then there's this sort of some sort of secret weird force. They actually call it the weirdness that comes back and kind of covers the land and taints everything. And
Wait,
so
I just want to clarify. It's called the weirdness.
it's spelled WYRD, but yes, it is
Oh,
called
okay,
the
okay,
weirdness. Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, and so you basically get this piece of King Arthur's soul towards the beginning of the game, and you start kind of talking to him like whenever you stop to rest at a bonfire, you'll have a conversation with him, and he's like, you can talk to him about what you're doing. He can give you he'll give you some anecdote from the past. He'll talk about his history, and he is voice acted so unbelievably well that like you can kind of understand why people would follow him and why people would think that he's the only answer to the current crisis. Um, and the world is also just very mysterious. Like, um, I think in the second area of the game, there is this spectral deer that's just walking around that's like, taller than like a mountain. And it's not anything that you fight, but it's just something that you see and you're like, and I think at some point you kind of get a sense of who it is. Like if you kind of dig into the lore and like later in the game, you talk to certain characters who are familiar with it. There's also this, um, they call him the Weird Knight, who comes out whenever it's dark. And he's like this spectral knight that like fucks your world up. And whenever he comes out, there's like this gong that hits. And and he just destroyed me and for like most of my time with the game. And then finally, when I got to like Act 3, I fought him and he took me like I don't know, probably like 3 or 4 full minutes of combat, like dodging and hitting and dodging and hitting and dodging, and I finally took him down, but, like, the game doesn't explain who he is until the very, very end, or what he is, because he's actually kind of part of a almost like a race of knights or something like that. But there are all these little weird, mysterious things that the game doesn't tell you. And I remember talking to some friends about this, and they said that it's one of the things that they like about a lot of the Souls-like games is
Yeah.
that there's a lot of like interesting, weird stuff that is not really explained, but still sort of catches your attention and piques your curiosity. So I just felt like this world was really, really fascinating. I enjoyed spending time in it, and I played it pretty incessantly. Um, and just I really liked it. So that is my number five is Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon.
Nice. Yeah, that game looks cool. I
Yeah.
remember looking at it earlier this year and being like, yeah, this is something I think would be cool to try. And yeah, and I thought you and Paul might dig it as well. It's cool that we're at
Yeah.
a point where like indie teams can just make like Bethesda style
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For the
that's really
longest
cool.
time, that was definitely out of reach, I felt like.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, so that's cool to see. And glad you liked it.
Hmm.
All right, so that was Will's number 5, Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon.
Hmm.
My number 5 is Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. Um, this is like it's simultaneously like a GBA era throwback in terms of like its aesthetics. It's very much
Yeah.
going for that. They even have like a original Game Boy Advance like wrapper around the screen.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of mechanics, it's very much a like top-down Zelda-like throwback. Is kind of the closest touchstone. So like a Link to the Past or a Minish Cap or something.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a really well done one of those. You have I mean, it's very goofy narratively. I mean, it kind of tries to have some emotional touchstones by the end, but it's mostly kind of silly. Um, but you have your yo-yo, and you keep getting yo-yo upgrades. So you might go through one dungeon and um, get an upgrade that lets you like ride on the yo-yo. So like you like spin it down and it like carries you across water. Otherwise, you would drown in the water. So like you ride along the water, or you get stuff that lets you basically like platform off the yo-yo. You like spin it and it like stays in the air, and you can like bounce off it and do stuff like that. And actually, by the latter part of the game, one thing I ended up super liking about this game is it becomes a weirdly tough platformer with like crazy platformer tech. Um, they give you these crazy platforming gauntlets once you have like all the abilities, or most of the abilities, and it's like that's the hardest stuff in the game is like the platforming stuff, which I would not expect from like a top-down game like this, but ended up being really cool. They really found some creative abilities with the yo-yo to platform. Um, Otherwise, it's just a really, really surprisingly well done kind of Zelda like exploring the overworld, which is in a city, so it's like not it's a very different setting than like a Zelda game, but it still works. And like exploring that and kind of talking to NPCs, and you can kind of get little quests, and you can go jump in the sewers and explore the sewers, and you can find all sorts of secrets, basically art pieces and currency to buy things and all that type of stuff. And then there are some dungeons around which you can actually do in different orders. So there's a little bit of openness there. And the dungeons are very Zelda style, a mix of combat and platforming and puzzle solving and kind of the pre-Breath of the Wild Zelda mold. Um, just had a really good time with it. Like it's kind of like in some ways simple to describe, but it's also just executed really well. Like the aesthetics really nail that GBA era vibe, and I think they pull off all of the platforming and puzzles and stuff like that like really well. And even the combat's fun. They give you some nice fun combat moves. They play off yo-yo stuff a lot, like you have around the world as a like a combat move,
Yeah.
and you get a walk the dog move, and like they play around with yo-yo stuff. And the overworld is like really fun to explore, and you constantly see like, oh, can't quite Goty has a ton of that like, oh, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to get to this area yet, and then you get an ability later, and you're like, oh yeah, now I see how I can get there. So it's a lot of that and a lot of good stuff there, and a lot of good like environmental puzzles, and yeah, I had a really good time with this one. Like this is a game I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, because it's kind of in that wheelhouse of like very popular game type.
Yeah,
That's
for
really
sure.
well made. That's really well made from like, it is an indie game, but it's really well made, and it feels like a type of game that usually kind of rises out of the indie scene and
Mhm.
is really popular. But I haven't really heard much of it. But it is just really well made and really fun.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one that I've had my eye on, and hopefully we'll get around to playing at some point. But it looks super fun.
It is. I think you would like it.
Yeah, I think I would too. Sorry, I got entranced watching the video here. No, I think it does have like a lot of charm, a lot of personality. I do like the graphics of it, but I think what draws me to it is thinking about like all the upgrades and exploring Zelda like, or top down Zelda like game like that. That seems like something I should play and would probably like a lot.
Yeah,
You would.
it's a good time. Yep, that is my number 5, Pipistrello and the Cursed Yoyo. All right, Nate. Number 4.
All right. I have a confession to make.
I have another confession to make.
I'm among friends here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to say my number 4 game of the year is Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket.
That did not come out in 2024 or 5. What are you doing here?
It was, I believe, an honorable mention for me at the end of last year, where I said it's not a very good game.
Mm-hmm. Do you still think it's not a very good game, or have you reversed on that?
I don't know, man.
You don't know, but you can't stop opening them card packs.
I gotta open the packs.
Hang on. I'm gonna live.
I probably got a pack to open right now.
Yeah, I need to open my evening pack. Let's open some packs here, Nate.
All right, let's open some packs and see what we get.
Mm-hmm. Which pack you opening?
What the newest one's called, the Crimson something.
Crimson Rising.
It's got the Charizard on it.
Ah, crap! I was in the middle of a solo battle.
Crimson Blaze. Well, you just gotta tank that one for the sake of this.
For the content, I gotta tank it.
Yes. All right. I am opening Crimson Blaze pack right now. I got a Buffalant.
Okay. Oh, hell yeah.
Miss Drevis. We got our favorite little buddy Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur.
I like Bulbasaur. Houndour.
Okay.
And Magneton, which is not nearly as good as an earlier version of Magneton.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
It isn't.
How do you feel about all this?
I got some more cards. So
okay.
I am feeling good.
Because
I got more cards in my phone.
I have gone back to opening Mega Rising packs because I got everything I want from the new one. I'm gonna speed run this to not take up too much time. I'm opening an Altaria pack.
Okay.
I got a Goodra. I actually wanted a second one of those.
Yeah.
I got a Marini, a Ferroseed, a Gogoat, and a Morgrim.
Gogoat.
Gogoat.
But I did want a second Goodra, so I like that.
Hey, thumbs up to the Goodra. I like Goodra. He's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what the hell is this doing on your list, Nate?
Pokemon Pocket. Okay. I have actively played this game every single day of 2025. And
365 of them.
365 consecutive days. And they keep putting out new packs. and I want all the cards in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
And sometimes I play online battles and it's fun, and sometimes I play online battles and it's not fun. But you know what? It's my number 4 game of the year.
I mean,
fair,
it
that's
sounds
fair.
like you've been doing it, you know?
It's kind of hard
But-
to argue with someone saying I played this game every single day of the year.
And I'm gonna keep playing it.
Mhm.
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do with that, you know?
I think I've played it every single day since the game released.
Yeah, I have too.
You know, most days it's just 5 minutes of opening packs and that's it.
Yeah, but
But
you get to
still.
see the cards,
You do.
and they're
Sometimes they're
awesome.
shiny.
Sometimes they're shiny.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're like a full art, which are nice.
I got a full
Yeah.
art. I got a full art Mega Lopunny the other day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't. It's a very good collection game.
Uh-huh.
It's a very good collection game. I like the Pokemon. It's my number 4 game of the year.
Yeah. I think the
That
battles
anyway had a lot of weight. I loved it. Anyway,
Anyway,
I think
moving
the battle,
on.
I think the battles are bad. I think the collecting is fun.
I think, yeah, that's probably fair. The battles have gotten better because they keep releasing new stuff, and it's gotten like more varied.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, we can move on now.
I'm mostly teasing you. I'm glad you've continued to have fun with Pokemon Trading
No,
Cards.
it's all good.
All right, that was Nate's number 4 of the year. Will, what is your number 4?
my number 4 is a game called Fretless, The Wrath of Riffson. This is something that I found just earlier in the year and probably before summer. And it's sort of a hybrid of a deck builder and a rhythm game. And it's also got timing based combat, which I thought was really interesting because I think I played it before I played Clair Obscur. And so to see another little game with, well, I mean, Clair Obscur is a much bigger game than Fretless, but another game with this timing-based combat. And I think the fact that I've played guitar pretty extensively when I was growing up, although I haven't really kept up with it as much as I could. You've got I think 4 or 5 different instruments in the game. Each one of these instruments has its own mechanics and its own riffs, and the riffs take the form of cards, and you can sort of you can decide to upgrade some, you can decide which riffs you want to have in your deck and whiches you don't. Um, Also, some of the enemies kind of might require you to switch instruments or switch riffs that you're using. But it's a charming, fun little RPG light, and I kind of couldn't get enough of it when I was playing. I think just the idea that you're fighting with these instruments, and I used a bass the whole time, and so like my attack sounded like ba-doom, ba-da-goom, ba-da-goom, and so I thought that was just like really fun to like funk them to death or whatever,
Yeah.
like and there's also like this crescendo meter that builds up as you hit the timings right. And if you do the timing right, it kind of enhances how good whatever you're doing is. So if you're trying to do damage, it'll do more damage. If you're trying to, cast a defensive riff on yourself, it'll like, be more powerful. And then the crescendo kind of gives you like the rhythm game. And so then you're kind of doing this little like, side scrolling when you're hitting the buttons, hitting the face buttons and trying to hit them in the right order at the right times. There's also some defensive parts where you're fighting against bosses, and then you have to kind of match this another rhythm chart to kind of like keep them from dealing damage to you. So it's like when you do it, like the more notes you hit, the more damage you deal. When they attack you, the more notes you hit, the less damage you take. And it's just a really good time. I thought it was super fun. I liked the kind of music and the concept, and it was just solid. I've got really no complaints whatsoever with that game. It just was a good time from start to finish, and yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So
Nice.
just I hadn't played anything that really kind of. I've played some games that were sort of like musical RPGs or something, but this one to me just I don't know, was much I don't know, just came together in a way that the other ones didn't.
There's some really cool animations. I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks fun.
It was a good time, man.
Yeah, nice. Do you know if this is playable with a guitar controller?
Oh wow, I don't. I played it on the Steam Deck, which is decidedly not a guitar controller.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea, but it seems, I mean, it's a guitar themed game, and there are a lot of guitar controllers in the world, so I was just curious.
Yeah, no, you got a point. I could see. I bet someone has done it. You know, I
Hmm.
bet someone has like hooked it up and did it. Especially, I mean, the crescendo parts. You know, you might do that once every other battle where you're doing the rhythm part.
Hmm.
But I do think it could be interesting to do the other,
Yeah.
to like maybe you could hit the strum right when you would normally hit the timing challenge to actually power up your attack or something like that.
Mm.
But anyway, yeah,
Nice. Yeah.
good times, fretless.
Will's number 4, Fretless, The Wrath of Riffson.
Hmm.
My number 4, tell me if you guys have ever heard of this genre. It's a roguelike deck builder.
What?
Uh,
Okay, so you're building a deck. Hang
Mm-hmm.
on, hang on. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this.
and
You're building a deck, and you're you're doing runs. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They call
You're
them
doing
runs.
runs. You're doing runs. You're building a deck. Tell me what I'm missing.
No, you got it.
All
Well,
right.
the
That's
main thing you're
it.
missing
Nailed
is
it.
what if we took monsters and put them on a train?
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm following
Someone's
you. I'm
thinking here.
following you.
Yeah. All
Take
right.
me
All
on a
right.
journey. Take me on a
Yeah.
journey.
That journey is Monster Train 2. I really like the first Monster Train. Second one's largely similar. I think they've improved it in smart ways. They've done the thing where they add some new mechanics, but instead of feeling like more, it kind of feels like the new stuff seamlessly gels. So it's almost like it's the type of game that feels like it would be hard to go back to the first one. It's like they found the right things that the first one was kind of the right spots that could have been filled in with the first one, and they filled that in. And it's like, okay, yes, this makes sense. It's largely the same game, but they found the right stuff to add and tweak. Um, so it feels like a slightly more robust, slightly more refined Monster Train. Um, I really like the new card types. I like the new like keywords and mechanics. Largely still like it for all the same reasons. There's 5 new clans which have their own themes and mechanics. Mixing and matching them still super fun. They have a better progression of like the story and like hitting credits, that I appreciate. They also have one new thing they added that's cool is they added a. I think one of the Smash Brothers games had this. There's like a grid of like challenges that are like preset up runs with like preset modifiers. So it's like a more puzzly type of situation. And I actually really enjoyed doing those because it's like, ooh, what if, you know, uh, every time you play a card, this happens, or like whatever. Like they have some really dynamic modifiers that like really change how the game plays, and those were fun to puzzle through. Um, and then at some point, you unlock the 5 clans from the original game. So then there's 10 clans, and you can mix and match them all together, um, which is kind of a fun thing. So it really just like kind of blows open even further from there, which is neat. And I still like those original 5 clans. So yeah, it's just I don't have a ton to say about it other than like they somehow made Monster Train better, and I already really liked Monster Train.
I can see why it made your list. I think I'm putting it together.
Putting it together, good.
Yeah. How many runs do you think it took before you were victorious?
That's a good question. I don't actually know. Oh, victorious. So like I won after like 3-ish runs. Like I won my
Okay.
first run pretty soon in, and like the vast majority of my runs I've won. Like every now and then I would lose one, and they do have scaling difficulties that you can bump up.
Gotcha.
I would sometimes bump it up, sometimes wouldn't. Like if I was playing a new clan, I kind of would replay at the lower difficulty, the Covenant one. Um, but if I was like playing with clans I felt confident in, I would bump it up. Um, and I would sometimes lose, but like the way I was playing it, because there's a lot of different ways you can play it, but the way I was playing it at the lower difficulties, I generally won. I don't know how long it took for me to see credits. Uh, Says I've played it for 2.1 days total, and I did play a little bit after seeing credits. So and there's still a lot to do. Like I haven't done all the challenges. I haven't bumped the Covenant, the difficulty all the way up, which I did start doing more after I hit credits. So yeah, there's still definitely more to do, and I know they've had a pretty major update since I stopped playing. So I will go back to it sometime and kind of check out what they've added in their updates. So it's nice that the game's getting support as well.
Sounds like it's one that you've listed as continuous on Infinite Backlog.
I think after our discussion, I changed it to beaten because I have one to run. But
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
but yes, I do plan to go back to it. It's just a lot of fun.
Cool.
I really like the Monster Train games.
Nice.
All right, we're entering the top 3. How we feeling, guys?
We're hanging in there.
All right, Nate, what's your number 3?
My number 3 for this year is Baby Steps.
Hey,
Steps. I also played this. It is not on my list, but I did play it and like it. What did you like about it, Nate?
This is a weird game. So it is, kind of, it's not really open worldy, but you have a large space to wander in, and the basic movement is so strange and awkward that you're just constantly falling over on yourself and climbing up something for 30 minutes and then falling all the way down. And it is, from Bennett Foddy and of what was that game called? The one you really liked?
Getting Over It.
Getting Over It. Of getting over it, and has a kind of a mentality about it, about failing and trying again, and putting one foot in front of the other and taking your baby steps to get to where you need to go. So it kind of has like a nice gelling of meta narrative and gameplay, and it is just like goofy and weird and surreal all the way through, such that you're never really quite sure about anything. Anything that's happening with the main character Nate and his whatever existential crisis or extra dimensional portal that pulled him into this space. I still don't really know whether like to feel any particular way about like what has happened to him and why. But that's not really the point of the game. It's just kind of wrapper. And so I think it's really interesting. It was an interesting experience for me that it just like takes a very goofy, surreal approach to everything. And the movement is so unique and strange that like I got a lot of enjoyment out of just like playing around with it and kind of figuring out how to move in that space. Like just felt, I mean, it doesn't feel good because you're just failing all the time, but it feels good to like start to feel like you're learning how to use this, like this body that you're controlling in a different way than you've ever done it in a video game before. And so it's just, I don't know, like it just grabbed me. I think it like made me think a lot about um, narrative and like how to build a game where everything is clearly about something, but also the developer's not even going to tell you what it's about. And like, I just think it's really cool and interesting.
Yeah. And I actually do think it's fun to play. I actually really got to enjoy the movement. And by the end
Yeah,
of the game, I felt fairly proficient at the movement. Um,
yeah.
uh, Will actually tuned in when I was near the end of the game and I was climbing a train in the snow area. And
Oh
I don't know what
God.
it looked like. Yeah, I don't know what that looked like to you, Will, but I actually felt like by that time I had a pretty good grasp of the mechanics and like I felt pretty confident like getting through that. It's like I kind of fell, a couple times, but I never fell that far or lost that much progress and I kind of got through it like fairly well.
I
And it's
mean,
like,
you were
yeah, I think
jamming
I'd
your feet into those armchairs. You were
yeah.
making it happen, man.
Yeah,
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 and like I was getting there, and I was like, "This is fun," and like that is the stuff I really liked about this game is like those moments of like
yeah.
condensed, like you really have to watch your feet and kind of puzzle your way through this thing and like really pay attention to the mechanics. Like I really
Mhm.
actually got to a point where I enjoyed that in this game. Um,
Yeah,
and it creates so many, and Getting Over It did this too. It creates so many moments of like the smallest little piece of environment becomes like such a huge focal point with the mechanics and it's like these are games like so much about the movement to the point where every little thing matters, like every little piece of environment
yes,
matters.
absolutely, yeah. And yeah, I do think there's a lot of enjoyment out of like just piecing together like what you can and can't do and then executing that in like a very like specific scenario, like
Hmm.
realizing that you can kind of like wedge your feet into things and like pull up your whole body off of like a big toe.
Yeah, and for as bumbling and aimless as Nathan the character is portrayed to be,
Yeah.
he has got some of the best, like nobody has better balance than Nathan.
Oh yeah, he can balance on anything forever on
Yeah,
one
with
toe.
one leg and lift himself up. He's got strong quads. You
Yes.
know, I
Yep. Yep.
yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to the other people who worked on it: Gabe Cazillo
Right.
and Maxi Bosch. Bennett Foddy gets
Yes.
he's the most recognizable name, but he did work on it with other people who I'm sure were just as critical to its creation.
Yeah, definitely.
But it also it does very much feel like a Bennett Foddy game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like this feels like the ultimate evolution of Quap or something,
Right.
which was him.
Yeah.
Um, but I love the only other thing I wanted to say about it because I enjoyed this game as well is I think I don't quite know how to explain it. I think Bennett Foddy and presumably his coworkers too. I'm saying Foddy because I've played other games from him that do this also. Is really smart about somehow he really seamlessly like makes the act of play like kind of be the narrative experience in a way. He's somehow
Yes.
able to tie like the themes he's going for in with the movement mechanics, and it's like these hyper focused movement mechanics become
Yeah.
part of like the like I called Getting Over It a playable parable, and Baby Steps is maybe too big to be a parable because parables are short, but it still has
Right.
that kind of feeling. Like it is almost like a playable, like I don't know what the right word is for it, but it like has those themes and lessons and whatever tied into the movement.
Mhm. Yeah. It is like I said earlier, it's so clearly a game about like ideas and themes, like to its core and every piece of it. Um,
Hmm.
but then it also that has the restraint to not just like come out and hit you over the head with like this is what the takeaway of the game is. Like you kind of go through it and experience it,
Hmm.
and you're going to take away something for you that's probably pretty personalized.
Yeah.
Um, that isn't going to necessarily be the same thing that everybody else is going to get from it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that sounds like maybe putting more like heaviness on it than maybe like it goes for it. It has some heavy moments.
I actually think it does go for it. Like I think they intentionally throw in a lot of levity, which I also want to say this is a really great comedy game. There's a lot of
It's a very
physical,
funny game.
there's a lot of physical body humor just in the act of walking around and falling and like
Yeah.
things hitting
Yeah.
you. And the cutscenes are also like an improv comedy style of dialogue, which is insane.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but I also think the kind of heavy stuff is intentional.
It is intentional. They don't hit you over the head with it and be like, here's
Correct.
a sad thing that you should be sad about.
Yeah.
It's much less. It's much more subtle than that.
Yeah, and I am gonna spoil the end of this game. So if anyone doesn't want the end of Baby Step spoiled, because that was the moment that hit me the most, is because at the beginning of the game, Nathan has to pee, but
Yes.
he doesn't want to pee in front of anyone or outside. He wants a toilet, but he doesn't want to ask for a toilet. He doesn't want to like ask for help or whatever. And I didn't quite fully pick up on this throughout the game, but as I got near the end, I was like, oh, he has not asked for, he's like, we're doing all this ordeal and he has not asked for help for anything. And the
Yeah.
very end of the game is him asking if he could, he's like in the cold, he's just gone through a lot of stuff. It's like in the snow and he reaches this cabin, this it's a very comical scene because this guy's like, oh yeah, it's really nice in there. And Nate's like, oh, do you have heat? Do you have a toilet? He's like asking him these things and like, oh, he's like, oh yeah, I got all these things. I've been working on some stuff and making some food and yeah, it's really cozy in here. And he's like, all right, bye, Nathan. And then Nathan's like sitting out there outside the house again, and he eventually knocks and asks if he could come in. And it's just like, oh yeah, of course you can come in. Why didn't you ask that earlier?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just like it hit me in that moment that like, oh, like he struggles asking for help.
Mm.
Like
Or even
that's
accepting it sometimes when it's directly offered.
yeah, because oh, that's true. Because all throughout the game, like these other characters are offering him help, and he's just like, no, I don't
He's
want
like,
to
no,
impose.
I'm
I'll be
good. I
fine.
got.
Yeah, and it's like he struggles asking for help, and like
Yeah.
I don't know, that kind of hit me in that final moment when he actually asks to come inside, and like that's the ending.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, okay, like he's making his life harder, and like
Mhm.
this game is hard because he's not asking for help and he's too ashamed to ask for help and feels like he should be able to take on everything on his by himself.
Right.
I mean, I think there are a lot of guys that probably feel that way.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, and like because when you were watching, Will, I was like, I'm not quite sure I've like grokked the themes of this game yet, but it hit me in that final moment. It like came together, so I thought that was like a really poignant way to wrap it up. And yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're absolutely right, Will. I was thinking about that too. Is like, oh yeah, I think a lot of guys like kind of bumble through life feeling like they should be able to handle everything, but it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very cool game. I think it generates a lot of opportunity for introspection and thinking about things like that. And it does
Yeah.
it, like you said, through its gameplay and world design and story and the writing and everything, but then also just has like the layer of surreal absurdity that makes it a very funny and engaging experience along the way. So
Mhm.
I think it's really neat. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. My main drawback was when I didn't know where to go. I found that frustrating.
I did too. Yep. I definitely got frustrated not knowing where to go because it does not signpost well.
Mhm.
Um,
And I think I liked something like Getting Over It better because it was just more linear and
more focused, yeah.
had a lot of similar themes, and I liked
Sure.
its method of control as well. But I mean, I respect Baby Steps a lot, and
Mhm.
am very glad I played it. All right, that was Nate's number 3, Baby Steps. Will, what's your number 3?
the game called The Outer Worlds 2.
Nice.
So, yeah, I actually didn't really like the first Outer World. Something about it didn't really come together for me. Didn't really gel.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think I know I tried it, and I think you did too, Nate. I bounced off Outer Worlds 1 like pretty quickly.
Yeah, me too. I did not get into it at all and didn't play very much of it.
Yeah. So I don't really know. I mean, I think I saw that the reviews were looking pretty good for 2. Um, And so I just decided to kind of give it a shot. I was like, well, I played Tainted Grail earlier this year. Love that. Why not go on another Bethesda-like trip, which I'm sure the Obsidian people probably would call it, maybe they would call it Obsidian-like or something. I don't know, maybe they don't like
Yeah.
that. But anyway, I just thought it was really interesting. I think the thing that kind of won me over, I mean, most of what I would tell you about it are things that you would already know because you've played Bethesda games, or you played Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3. I mean, you've got a set of companions. You have two instead of just one. Those companions kind of have gear upgrades that they can get. They have abilities that you can choose when to deploy. They talk to you about the different things that you're doing. They have their own little side quests and things that you can go on. But I think I started thinking a lot about how we organize a society while I was playing Outer Worlds 2. Of course, the main well, there's three different main factions in the game, but one of them is what's called Auntie's Choice, which is it's like a merger of the two companies called Auntie Cleo's and Spacer's Choice from the first game. And so I was just thinking, I think that's so fascinating that, like, in a time that we're seeing so many different mergers, in our lives. I mean, even right now, I think at any given time there's a merger going on, but right now I think it's like, um, what is it? Time, not Time Warner, but
Warner Brothers.
H, yeah, Warner
Warner
Brothers is getting
Brothers.
acquired right now.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's just it never seems to stop. And
I
so,
mean,
um,
Obsidian themselves got acquired.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, but I think the you know, Auntie Cleo's or Auntie's Choice or whatever, they basically have this idea that, like, society, you know, their society is the society that they want to create is very much like ours. They're like, the market will sort it out. The market allows people to maximize their choice. It allows them to maximize their potential. It brings the most exciting lives and the most exciting products. And of course, there's different quests that sort of explore the downfall of that. But I started thinking to myself, like, like this is, it's not like it's not like I'm like, well, what would happen if Auntie's Choice took over? It was almost like, to me, it felt like the world that I live in is what it's like if Auntie's Choice took over. Like, we live in a world where corporations have more power than governments or people, you know? And so, like, that upped the stakes to me, for the game as I was playing and thinking about, and it was one of these games where I started out just being like, well, maybe this is the right way to go. Maybe this is the faction I want to side with. And then at some point in the game, I sort of just reevaluated. And I felt like that was pretty rare for me in a lot of games. In some RPGs, you're kind of like, these are the guys that I want to be. These are the guys that I want to side with. These are clearly the good guys. It's kind of signposted that these are the good guys. And then in Outer Worlds 2, I basically just sort of turned and I was like, after sort of doing things for one of the factions, at some point I was just like, fuck these guys, and like I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna go and help these other people because, like, I don't like where we're going. I don't like what we're doing. I don't like their vision for society, and I thought that was just a really compelling thing for me is to think about, like, because I think in some ways, like, neoliberalism and capitalism, it's like the water that we swim in. And
Mhm.
so it's hard to sort of see what would an alternative look like to the way that society is currently organized. And I think the Outer Worlds 2 does a good job of sort of um, kind of stimulating that imagination in people and its players, like thinking about what it might look like. The other thing I wanted to mention very briefly, and you've probably heard about this if you've read anything about the game, is the flaw system. I can't not mention the flaw system because it's totally brilliant. The
Yeah.
game will pay attention to the different things that you're doing, and and then will offer you the opportunity to take another flaw in the middle of the game, and it'll do this like over and over and over based on what it picks up on how you're behaving. And so one of my favorite ones that I got was I think it was called something like Always Ready, because I have this habit of when I'm playing first person shooters of reloading my gun. Like, just I'll shoot like one bullet and then reload my gun. And then I got this flaw that was like, you get extended clip size in all your weapons, but if you ever let any of your weapons actually run out of ammo, you do like 50% less damage for like 10 seconds or something like that.
That's
And I
funny.
thought that was so fascinating. And they have another one that's called like creaky knees, and so if you go into to crouch a lot, you can get this thing that I think it allows you to crouch better or allows you to be less detectable. But whenever you crouch, your knees will creak, and then everybody around you will hear them. So it's like it'll break your stealth or something like that. But that stuff is just fascinating and fantastic. But yeah, it's just a solid game throughout. One little trick thing that I have to mention is that there is no encumbrance in the Outer Worlds 2, which it's interesting. Certain people take that certain ways. They're like, well, I like encumbrance because it makes me like stop and look through my inventory at like regular intervals and stuff like that. But for me, I was like, this is great. Fuck that. I don't I don't want encumbrance anyway. But
Mhm.
but I mean, one of the reasons this thing is so high on my list is to be honest with you guys, this is probably, for the longest time, I felt like Fallout 3 was probably my favorite of this style of game.
Yeah.
And at this point, I think Outer Worlds 2 is probably my favorite of this style, this sort of Bethesda, environmental storytelling, getting perks, getting skills, having options in the quest based on the skills that you have, based on the perks that you have, being able to come up with a sort of build based on those perks. I mean, it really does a lot of things well. I think the one thing that probably bugs people a little bit about it is it doesn't have a lot of fluff. So after I finished it, I went back and I was like, what are some of the other side quests? And it turned out that just kind of in the course of playing through the game, I had done maybe all but like 3 or 4 of the side quests or something like that. And so there are also what they call tasks, which are kind of like side quests that are less involved, and I didn't really pay as much attention to those, but there's not a lot of fluff on it. So, it's not like I think for some people who maybe would prefer to play a game that's like
Yeah.
80 hours long, it's not going to
Yeah.
scratch that itch.
I know that's a expectation for fans of like Bethesda's style of game,
Right.
and people want
Yeah.
that, but what you're describing sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds perfect.
Yeah, and so it's very, there's not a lot of fat on it, and
Mhm.
it's just a really good time. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my, I guess, number 3,
It
Outer
sounds
Worlds.
cool, and I was very curious about it because of the reception it got, especially from a lot of people who, like us, said they didn't really like the first game.
Hmm.
It
Mhm.
seemed like a lot of people who didn't like the first game came away pretty positive on this one, so I was definitely curious about it. It's good to hear some of the specific things that you liked about it. Like, I think feeling like the factions and stuff are like meaningful enough, and you have a good a sense of them and how they interact with the world enough, so that you were like making character decisions and like story decisions based around that is like uh,
Yeah, yeah.
a
I,
cool
I was
wrinkle to
just
have.
I was looking at the how long to beat, and main story is like 16 hours. I
Hmm.
think main plus some of the extra stuff is like 41, and then they say completionist is like 58. So if you imagine a game of this style, I mean that is very
Yeah,
that's very short compared to a lot of other games of this style. Um, so
yeah,
anyway,
that
it's
sounds cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice. That flaw system sounds excellent.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
cool.
it sounds like they found a lot of good ways to like juice up the role playing side of things, like with the
Mhm.
flaw system and like how the factions work and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. Will's number 3, The Outer Worlds 2. My number 3 is a game Nate mentioned earlier. It is a game that was developed very quickly and nobody had high expectations for at all. Hollow
Uh-huh.
Knight Silksong.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge fan of the original Hollow Knight. Silksong, basically as good. Um, they are probably the best in the business at world creation, at least in a 2D side-scrolling game like this.
Yeah.
Just the many paths you can take, the many routes you can take through the world. There's so many ways you can go and make it your own kind of path. Um, it feels very player driven. The combat is excellent. The platforming is excellent. The look and sound of the game is incredible. That's probably the biggest difference from the first Hollow Knight is this game looks and sounds good. Like just some of the like cutscenes or like boss entrances or like kind of like pivot or like the cinematic moments are like, man, they got talent for their art and their music. um but yeah, it's just super fun exploring this world. We did no one here, but two others who played the game, we did a podcast on it, and it was so fascinating to just hear like the different paths people took through the world and the different like order they did things. Like I somehow completely stumbled into like the second act of the game without fighting the act 1 boss. Like just like stumbled into a back door and basically did most of act 2 before I went back and fought the act 1 boss who I didn't even need to go back and fight.
Yeah.
Just stuff
And
like that.
this is from a series that is largely like inspired by the Metroidvania style of
Mhm.
games where like getting sequences of upgrades to unlock certain paths in a specific order is like the standard way of doing things, and like sequence breaking is like a speedrunner fan thing. But
Mhm.
this game was like, actually, what if there's no intended sequence?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I haven't watched Game Maker's Toolkit's world design video on Silksong yet. I think he put one out recently, but I watched his one for the first Hollow Knight twice because he did a really good job at breaking it down of just like, okay, you have to get to this place, but there are like multiple different ways to get there, and you need an ability to get there, but not just one ability could get you there. There are like 2 or 3 different abilities that if you get any of them, you can make a path to this place that you have to get to for the story. And it's just like that's just so smart. Like why does it have to be the double jump to get somewhere? Why couldn't this item also get you there or this? So it's like, yeah, it really is exactly what you said, Nate. It's just like, I don't know. There's no sequence. There's no one sequence to the game to begin with. There are, countless permutations of sequences you can do already. Um,
Yeah, which makes it easier and harder in some ways.
mhm,
But like if you're the player like me who doesn't have a great sense of direction and forgets where things were that I intended to go back to at some point, like if I just
mhm,
wander around enough, I will find a way through. It may not have been like
mhm.
the way I was originally thinking I would go, but
Yeah.
it'll work out just fine.
It was really fun. I don't know how much you've listened to Remap Radio this year or last year, but it was really fun listening to them, like their check-ins with that game, because like the different people on that podcast have different tolerances for that, for like not knowing where to
Yeah,
go. And it was
yeah,
like, oh, someone stumbled into a really hard zone early on, and they hadn't found this other item that someone else was like, oh, but didn't you have this or use this? And they were like, no, what are you talking about? I didn't have, and it's just like, yeah, it's just like the different ways you do things can like really color your impression in a different way. But then by the
yeah,
end of the game, they were all like, "Oh, this is really cool," and like they all had their own experience. And I feel, and when we did our podcast, it was kind of similar. It's like we all kind of had our own experience, and like I think these games are just master classes of that. Um,
yeah.
I mean, I like Super Metroid is a foundational game. I love Super Metroid. I kind of have a hard time saying like these games haven't one up Super Metroid in that world. Is like they're definitely way more open in their paths through. Like like we said, there's like kind of no sequence to break. Like they've really kind of taken that to a new level, I think.
Yeah, it's a super cool game. I
Yeah.
definitely want to play more of it. I did not get to Act 2, but I played a good number of hours into Act 1. And just that process of exploring and finding new upgrades, and then running into a boss and trying to figure out the boss patterns, and then you finally get through that, and then it's like, oh, now I have all these new paths to explore, and just kind of repeating that process, but always escalating further and further. Like, it just feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have some minor, like, we got real nitpicky on the podcast we did because that's what those podcasts are for. And there are some minor gripes I can make about it. And I think in some ways I like the first Hollow Knight slightly better. But, like, I mean, this game's basically just as good in the ways that matter most. And, if they want to take another 8 years or whatever it was to make another one, I'm fine with that.
Right. Yeah. That's okay.
I'd like to see them try something else, but I would also be fine if they just made another one of these.
Yeah.
Yep. That was my number 3, Hollow Knight Silksong. Worth the wait, it turns out. I don't know how they handled all that pressure and still delivered, but they did.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Like, that's maybe the most impressive thing about this game. All right, we're gonna take one last short break here, another bathroom break and a water break, and then we'll come back, round out our top 2, the true best games of the year. I think we're gonna have some overlap in these.
I think so.
And we'll bring this podcast home.
Right.
All right, we will be back in a few. Stick with us. Welcome back to Atacs Game of the Year podcast for 2025. I'm still Flex with Nate and Will here. It's been a good discussion. Been a fairly long discussion. Got 2 games left. Our top 2 games of the year. And Nate, I feel pretty confident in saying that you and I
might have the same
top 2. But the question is, are they in the same order?
That is the question.
So Nate, and I have a feeling one of Will's top 2 is one of these 2 games as well.
Yeah.
But Nate, what is your number 2 game of the year?
Well, I got my glass of wine. I did not bring a baguette, but my number 2 game of the year is Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
All right. Will, do you have this game on your list?
I do.
Is it higher than number 2?
It is.
All right.
We'll talk about it in a minute.
All right. Will, what is your number 2 game of the year?
It's a game entitled Cronos, The New Dawn.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I did not expect this. I really did not. I have played this team, Bloober team. I played Layers of Fear. I played Observer. I played Blair Witch. I tried all these games, and I don't know. They just didn't really hit for me. I don't think I finished Observer and I finished Layers of Fear, but I just did not really think that they were particularly well made or interesting games. And I guess I didn't play the Silent Hill 2 remake that preceded Chronos, but I had heard enough good things about it that I was like, well, maybe it's time, And I watched some gameplay of it, and it's just an extremely solid action horror game. It's got a really, really inventive world. Essentially, I guess you learn this fairly quickly. You play as someone who practices what's called the vocation, and you are traveling to different points in time to try and understand the origin of this sort of viral pandemic, this outbreak that's killed so much of the population. And apparently, I didn't recognize this until recently. it's somewhat similar to the plot of 12 Monkeys, the Terry Gilliam film, which is
I
which
I'm
the
unfamiliar
role
with
of the
this film, but I've heard this comparison in a podcast,
yeah.
so I'm
Yeah,
interested in this.
and I thought this was really interesting, but, Bruce Willis plays the person who it travels through time in the movie, and of course, he it's like he travels too far. I think he travels to 1990, and he was supposed to travel to 96, and they think he's insane, so they throw him in this insane asylum where he meets insane-ass Brad Pitt, but that's all beside the point.
Yeah.
So, anyway, this is it reminds me of a I mean it's kind of like it's very similar in structure to Dead Space,
Yeah.
from the suit to kind of the environments. The combat is not like the shooting isn't as precise, but it's interesting in a different way. It's like instead of being about shooting limbs and taking off certain limbs, it's more about using charged shots. And of course, it takes a moment to charge the shot, and during that time, the enemies can kind of close the different distance on you. The other kind of interesting caveat in the combat is that if you don't take care of an enemy quickly enough, he will go and absorb sort of the health and armor of another dead enemy. And it can even change the type of enemy it is. So it can be one type, and then it can go and absorb the sort of essence of another energy of another enemy, and then sort of come at you armored or as a spitting type of enemy, or you know. But the and you're traveling, and the way that you're getting this knowledge is you're finding these bodies, or you're finding certain people and extracting what's called their essences, which is essentially their consciousness, and you store these consciousnesses in what's called your phylactery, which is funny. The only other context I've heard that word is like vampires or liches or something. And then you upload these consciousnesses to this sort of server where the people who employ you can sort of, I guess, evaluate the information, which is fucking crazy and awesome. you know but while you have these different consciousnesses in your mind, they actually kind of impact what you see and how you experience the world that you're going through, not in a tremendously profound way, but in enough of a way that you're like, okay, this is something interesting is happening here. um and so the whole thing, to me, it's I don't know that I would say that it eclipses my experience with Dead Space. Dead Space has long been sort of my, crowning jewel of action horror for me.
Yeah.
But I do think it's got a better story, and I think it's close enough to be a contender, which to me is really, really high praise because I'm such a big Dead Space fan. Um, but this thing is just solid throughout. There are a tremendous number of good decisions made. The design is really fantastic. The even the moments where you think it would be easy to kind of get lost, um, they're signposted well enough. So there's this one point where you're like using these gravity boots to like flip upside down and flip to the side, and you could easily get frustrated figuring out like, oh God, where am I supposed to go and where did I come from? Because you're not oriented in the way that you think you should be, or the way that we're used to navigating. But even that is done just extremely well. Um, and I recommended this game to a friend of mine who also was a huge fan of the original Dead Space, and he loved it as well. And so I think that that Bloober team has really kind of come into their own, and now
Yeah.
they are they're a very good horror studio, and I think I look forward to seeing kind of what they're going to do from here. But because for so long, it's like you could tell that some of the artistic stuff that they were doing, you could tell that they had good imagination and they had good artists on their teams, but nothing ever came together in a way that was particularly coherent. Um, Another thing this game does well, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, is the way the story unfolds is really, really like it sort of feeds you just enough. It's like you're not. you don't like figure it out at the beginning and then you're just kind of going through the motions. It's like most of the game you're learning subtle but new things about how the vocation operates, how the virus started, and so it constantly kind of keeps you on this sort of narrative hook that I think it's kind of hard to do that well in a game sometimes without like giving you a big info dump at the end or giving you, you know what I mean? And so I think it really does well with that. And a lot of that is sort of told through, some of it's told through environment, some of it's told through cutscenes, some of it's told through recordings and things like this. But it's much, much better than I anticipated, and one of my favorite things I played this year, clearly.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's cool to see Bloober Team kind of come into their own after some early missteps.
Yeah, they're trying to get it together.
Yeah, seems like they're doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like I tangentially was aware of this, but I don't think I was aware enough to be like, oh, it is a Dead Space style game that people really like. So that made me interested in it. How long is this game?
Let's see. I played it, I think, on PS5, so I would have to go to how long to beat. It's saying 14 and a half hours.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
not like okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to quickly read two different Steam reviews here. One says, thumbs down, Cronos is a bland, basic, and plays it safe kind of horror game. It's okay at best. And then this other one says, how does this masterpiece only have 87% on Steam? So we got both ends of the spectrum here.
Both ends of the spectrum, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it though. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It looks good.
All right.
I'm like sitting here thinking like I want to find time to play this. How am I going to make that happen?
Yeah. I've actually heard the Switch 2 version is not bad.
Okay, yeah.
So if that helps you play it, I mean, it'd probably be better on a bigger screen with, all the bells and whistles.
Yeah,
but
sure.
If it's playing it on the Switch 2 versus not playing it at all, I have heard that the Switch 2 version is not bad.
Yeah.
Actually,
Nice.
is it Steam Deck verified? It's also Steam Deck verified, so.
Okay. I got options.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My number 2 game of the year is someone else's number 1. Nate, what is your number 1 game of the year?
Hades 2.
That's it. All right. So it would be you next. So yes, my number 2 is Hades 2. So we wrap to you at number 1, and it's Hades 2.
Yep.
So yeah, tell what did you like about this awesome video game?
that it's awesome. They made one of the best action games of all time in Hades. Definitely one of the best action roguelikes of all time. And then they made another one, and it's at least as good as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what they're doing over there, but Hades 2 is more Hades, but they definitely remix a lot of things, add a lot of ideas. God, I mean, I could just run down like the very basic list of like, it looks great, it sounds great, all those things. Like it's all true because it was all true with Hades. They do all of that stuff so well. The characters, the writing, just how it feels playing all the different weapons with all the different like permutations of them through the aspects you can use, the mix and match of different boons and Daedalus hammer upgrades, and I mean it's like they've built a web of like millions of possible builds, and all of them are fun and all of them are viable, and I don't know, like it's just such an amazing package in Hades 2. And if I can spoil something from early in the game, I don't think it's a big spoiler to anybody who's kind of aware, but the first time I was like, oh man, this game is ridiculous and amazing, is when you are the start of the game, your goal is to go down into the underworld, whereas in Hades 1 you were going up from the House of Hades to the surface, and this one you're starting at the crossroads and going down into the underworld, and then you are making your way through that, and then eventually through unlocking things in your base, you unlock the ability to also go up, and you're like, oh wait, you can go down but can also go up. And it's basically two separate whole Hades games in the two different directions with unique environments and unique enemies and new upgrade options that appear through NPCs that you meet in those areas. Like, everything is just blown out to the next level, and it all works great. And then you have this kind of back and forth play of going to the surface versus going to the underworld and getting different resources and kind of figuring out where Malinoe needs to be putting her attention in this bigger conflict. And then, it kind of plays around with some interesting ideas about time, because the main villain is Cronos, and so there were some interesting ideas about time and prophecy that they play around with in this game that I really found engaging. And then, like the first game, I would say the main theme is still around family and acceptance and learning to build bridges and understand different viewpoints and different hurts, and kind of try to I don't know, just build those relationships with family and acceptance and things like that. So all of it comes together. All of it worked for me. And I know some people are down on the ending. I've seen some about that, but I wasn't. So this is my favorite game of the year.
Yeah, a quick note on that, actually. Apparently the ending was originally different, and then they changed the ending, and it was already changed by the time you and I saw the ending, Nate. So we did not see the original ending that people were upset about.
Okay, that makes more sense, because I don't...
Yeah, and apparently the new ending, people were like, oh, okay, we're fine with this. So
okay,
yeah, there was I've meant to go look up what the original ending was, because I'm sure you could find it on YouTube.
Yeah,
but
I should look it up.
Apparently people really hated the original ending, so they changed it, and the new ending is... I don't know that the new ending blows people away, but I think people are like, yeah, this is fine, this is acceptable.
It works, yeah.
I mean, I could see how they could get in trouble, because it's a lot of time, manipulation business, which always gets tricky to write.
It is, yeah, and it is kind of weird, and there are some parts that don't really make sense, and it especially doesn't make sense as you get into the post game. They really have to hand wave it.
Yeah.
But so, that's fine.
Yeah. So we haven't done a full podcast on this, but Nate and I will at some point when we can schedule it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's another great Hades, like you said, and I don't need to rattle off all those points. I think doing the second route was super smart, because if it was just one route again, it might feel a little too samey.
I think it would, yeah.
Even with all the other things they've kind of tweaked, I think the new setting and the whole witchcraft vibe does give it a different feel, and the different protagonist, and I think Malinoe's and Hecate and all of their backstories and stuff is really, really interesting. I think they're good characters. I like doing I'm blanking on the term, the concoctions, whatever they are.
Yeah.
All that stuff's fun, but the down route, the route that you start with, does feel a lot like Hades 1. And there's some differences, that third zone kind of has a little bit of a different vibe, but it's still a lot like Hades 1. But the up route those zones feel very different. Like that
Yeah, they
first
really
that
played around a lot with format there, like
hmm
how to structure a run in this game. It feels completely different going through the surface zones.
yeah. And the surface zones you almost have or you do have more control over your build on the surface route than you do below because that first zone, Erebus, you get to pick, or
Yeah.
is that Erebus or is that below?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's
first zone of the uproot.
no, it's the city of fear
Yeah, okay.
or something
Erebus is
like
the
that.
first zone in the lower route, I think. But anyway, um,
Yeah.
yeah, the first zone in the uproot, you like have a selection of doors to choose from, and you have to do 6 of them, but you get to choose, so you have a little bit of agency on your build from the start
Right.
there, um,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice. So it's almost like okay, you've done the down route, you've done the classic Hades. Now we're going to ramp up the challenge because the uproot is harder, but
Yes, it
you
is
get more
significantly harder.
control over your build. It's like okay, can you build craft well in addition to being good at action games?
Right.
Um,
Right.
which I think is a really smart twist. I also appreciate the uproot aesthetically because Supergiant has kind of a house style and a house vibe, and especially in their music. And I was actually like really surprised with the music on the uproot. It sounds not only very different from because the down route feels kind of similar to Hades 1, but the uproot feels very different from those and also from Supergiant's previous games. So like it's a different musical experience, which I was really stuck out to me, the uproot. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's a cool game. I think kind of like what I was saying about Monster Train 2, I feel like they found the right tweaks to make for Hades 2 to
Mhm.
make it feel more and more complete without, totally overhauling what Hades was.
Yeah. And it's also impressive to me that they really didn't keep a lot of like the basic building. Like the structure is the same, but like most of the stuff that is like core to the Hades 1 experience, they just threw out and said we
hmm
can do like another take on this. So like all the weapons are
hmm
different, which is
Yep.
kind of wild.
A lot of the
uh,
gods you get boons from are different. Like there are some
a
that
lot,
stayed, like
yeah,
Ares and Aphrodite and Zeus, but probably about half of the cast of gods that give boons are different.
yeah. Like all the people in your camp are different characters, new
hmm
characters. They didn't like lean on returning a bunch of characters to
Except
like
for
get
a
you
certain
invested.
sleepy boy
Yes, a certain sleepy boy
and a certain skeleton.
and a skeleton. He's not the same. It's a different guy.
He's totally different.
He's a different guy.
But yes, it's
But yeah,
largely a
like
different cast.
I feel like they probably had that as a goal for this project is to like not lean on having the same things from the first game. And I think they nailed it, like coming up with all new characters and all new weapons and all new like who your character is and why they're doing what they're doing. Like it's all very different and they
Yeah.
still just nailed it.
Yep. I agree. Final question for you, Nate. What do you want to see next from Supergiant Games?
Whatever they want to do, man. It's all
Would
good.
would you be how would you feel if their next I don't think it will be, but if they did a Hades 3, how would you feel about that?
Yeah. I really doubt it would be a Hades 3,
Yeah,
and I
I
feel
think they're
like
going to leave it at this point.
I have
But
enough confidence in them that if they did do a Hades 3, they must have some idea for what's going to make it different.
mhm.
So I would probably be okay with it, but I would probably rather them move on to something else.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. All right, that was Hades 2, my number 2
Yep.
game of the year and Nate's number 1.
I think that leaves us
And
with one game left to talk about.
yep, and we know what it is because it was Nate's number 2 and Will said, "Hang on a moment." So Will, what is your number 1 game of the year?
What? It's the one that has two names. I think it's um
Expedition 30
Ex-
something.
Expedition Clair Obscur. Yeah, that's the
Yep.
one. That's the
And that
one.
is also my number 1 game of the year. So yeah,
Yeah.
Will kick us off. What struck you about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 this year?
I think two different things. A lot of games for me will hit on the on the build crafting piece. So for instance, my number 10, I mentioned that Anode Heart game. It's got really fantastic kind of deck building. There's a lot of different directions you can go. Um, you know, it's like I said, there's 10 different colors that you can build from. You can do two different colors. But with Clair Obscur, it scratches that same itch. You've got, five different characters, each of whom have very different sort of builds that you can put together with the skills, pictos, luminas, weapons. And different people that I've talked to did, built their characters different ways. And so it
Mhm.
scratches that itch in a way that tends to make me a bit obsessive. I'm like, well, I want this weapon and I want this power. And, I remember kind of putting together like a Google Doc about all the different, pictos that I wanted to get and where I could find them and who I wanted to have them and all that. But usually when a game is that way, it doesn't also hit on the narrative part. Anode Heart had nothing to really offer on the narrative part for me. I was just like, yeah, okay, there's the bad guys and they're shadow guys and they wear hoods. But I think Clair Obscur had something really interesting to say about grief and about how we change minds. One thing that I've been saying is that for, pretty much for over a decade, if you would have asked me what my favorite film was, I would have told you Inception. I think Inception is such a brilliant film, from the perspective of acting, from the perspective of, the effects that you can see, um, the idea of changing someone's mind, the idea of the Dom character, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and he has that sort of fake world that he's built for his wife to live in, and he goes and sees her, but he knows that it kind of can't really compare to what it was like to be with her in real life before she passed. Like to me, Clair Obscur is sort of a perfect video game companion piece for those themes and those ideas. The idea of trying to hold on to the people that you love in a way that, maybe undermines your agency, maybe even their agency. How do you pull someone out of that type of grief? you know I think the other thing I want to mention is just how magnificently creative the world is. I think as soon as I went into Flying Waters, where you're kind of like, it's almost like you're underwater, but you're also not. But then there's like anchor enemies that you're fighting, and then Serene, which is like this bizarre sort of meditative, like flowy desert world. Like I think it's such a creative game. Like the areas are so creative, and it's also kind of genuinely funny. I mean, the interactions between, Esquier and Francois, and some of the interactions between, Monaco and
Verso.
Verso. I mean, so it hits on so many different levels. And the interesting thing is, like, I'm not one who tends to go for difficult games. I think you guys know this. And I was originally sort of put off by some of the parrying and some of the dodges. I was like, well, this seems really, really intimidating. But it definitely won me over, and it does a pretty good job of teaching you those different things. I mean, now there's the sort of masochist challenges, like if you want to try and parry everything that the big bad does and the secret big bad boss does at the very end. I mean, that's going to require some dedication. But generally, as you move through an area, um, you develop proficiency with like what type of moves you're going to get hit with and how you need to dodge them and how you need to parry them. And by the end of each level, I felt like I could handle the majority of the enemies in there fairly easy. And if I couldn't, I knew to prioritize them. I'm like, well, this guy's got to go because I can't parry his bullshit.
Yeah.
you know so yeah, I think it's the rare game that hits on a gameplay level for me, which, what I love is build crafting. I mean, so much of my different games of the year as you go through, they're, you know, I think almost everything, with the exception of maybe, and Roger, maybe Goodnight Universe, it's all about like creating builds, and so for the game to hit so well on that front, also not being afraid to let you feel powerful. I think we
Mhm.
can talk about this game, and we have talked about this game for hours already,
Yeah,
but
I
I
will point out
a
we have a
spoiler
big
cast on
long
this.
spoiler cast that us three did that we'll put in
Yeah.
the show notes, and you can find on our channel. But yeah,
Yeah, but to me, there are certain games you play where, you put in a skill point and they're like, you got 0.5% critical chance.
Yep.
You know, like the developers of this are not afraid to like let you get wild back at you. And there's something to me also as someone it's such a I think it's telling that this game is on so many different game of the year lists, because I do think it appeals to so many different types of players.
Mhm.
Like I'm the one I'm interested in power fantasies, and this game lets me have one, but then it also has zones and it also has enemies, um, that people who really want to get dirty with it, like who really want to learn all the different, moves. And then they just came out with this new thank you DLC that has even harder guys in it, which I doubt I'm going to go do that. But um, it does appeal to so many different types of players. But you also liked it a lot too, so I don't want to take up all the air in the room, and let you talk a little bit too about what you liked.
yeah, it was okay. No, yeah, I mean, yeah, this game's great. I totally agree with everything you just said. And it is kind of hard sometimes when a game like just does everything well to like kind of talk about. It's like, oh yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
great, it looks great, it plays great. I love the combat, love the party members, love the the build crafting, like you said. Like, yeah, it kind of ticks all the boxes. And in some ways, I potentially could like level more. If I'm getting nitpicky, I could potentially nitpick this apart more than some of the other games on my list, like a Hades 2 or, Monster Train 2 or Silksong or whatever. But I also think this game goes for so much more and it's so unique.
Yeah.
And, still basically nails it. Like any of my gripes are nitpicking. Like it really just does so well at everything it does. Like it's one of my favorite soundtracks of the year, and it really uses its soundtrack well to like punctuate the big moments. Like the art is incredible. I really like the battle system. Like the battle system stayed engaging the whole way through. It's a nice mix of turn-based with, you know, timing components and parrying and all that. It works well, and you can kind of play it however you want with the way you build craft. Yeah, it's just super great at all that stuff. It feels, and I think one reason it's clicked with so many people is because it feels very fresh. Like it is technically an indie team, but it kind of has like a AAA look and feel almost, and but it has kind of the heart of a more indie type of game. One that's not
Mhm.
made by 1,000 people and boiled down to committee votes or whatever. Like it
Yeah.
has, and I think in some ways it speaks a lot to where video games are right now, because I think one of the themes of the year is like AAA games, and we kind of mentioned this up top. AAA games taking even more of a backseat. There are fewer of those, and like indie games have really kind of risen and gotten even bigger. Games like Hades 2 is way bigger than Hades 1. Silksong was this huge, highly anticipated thing that was in the works for 8 years, and like this game Clair Obscur feels like it's even on like a bigger scale in some ways, and but it still has that like heart of you know this is clearly the game they wanted to make, and they make swings with it. It does nothing about this game feels safe to me. Um, and but they hit what they were going for. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, I think they do such a there's multiple throwbacks to classic like JRPGs of the 90s. They even thanked Sakaguchi in their acceptance speech at the Game Awards, um, which is really funny. Um, but one of my favorite things about that kind of throwback feel is a lot of those JRPGs of the 90s did such a good job at walking that line between very serious and just incredibly silly. And Clair Obscur does that just as well, if not even better in some ways than a lot of those games. And I love that it just wears its heart on its sleeve on both the serious end, like it tackles really heavy themes and it tackles them well. And it's also just the stupidest game in the best way possible at times. Will mentioned SKA and Francois. They're so stupid, but it's amazing. Um, so I love that it's able to just hit all those notes and it does them well. And yeah, it's just a wonderful game that I think even without playing it safe, even going for everything it's going for, still has a wide appeal. And it's just really cool to see that.
Yeah.
What you want to add here, Nate? It was your number 2, so you obviously liked it a lot as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would echo a lot of what you guys said. So, I guess the one thing I would also want to just highlight again is like how much this game has like big, ambitious ideas and really like wants to like play with um, big themes around like a lot of the things that Will started with talking about grief and how people try to help each other, but also through trying to like take control of things can really like derail everything that they love and care about. And I think the themes in this game are what I think of first when I think about it at this point. um like how much thought and care went into like developing these ideas and then building the world and the characters around those ideas and the writing to support that, and the music and cinematography and all of those things, like all in support of like these big ideas that and so for a game um to really come in, I think, with big ideas and everything about the game kind of built to support that. Like, I would love this game even if it didn't have, as you guys talked about, like the battle system and the build crafting and all that stuff. I would still think this is like a really special thing just for what it does narratively. But yeah, it's just super solid all around and goes for stuff.
Yeah, that was Clair Obscur. Expedition 33, Nate's number 2, mine and Will's number 1. And that brings us to the end of our lists. I know we've been running long here, but we'll do one last go around the horn. If you just want to count down your top 10 again, just to put it all together, and if you want to give any shout out, don't give any descriptions for time reasons, but you can just say this game I also liked. Nate, you wanna go first?
Sure. We want to count down from 10 to 1. Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Cool. Number 10, Keep Driving. Number 9, Hollow Knight Silksong. Number 8, Battlesuit Aces. Number 7, Blueprints. Number 6, Pokemon Legends ZA. Number 5, Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. Number 4, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. Number 3, Baby Steps. Number 2, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And number 1, Hades 2. And I was thinking about honorable mentions or shout outs. I think I actually will just give 2 shout outs to 2024 games that I played in 2025 that were good.
Yeah.
Which were UFO 50 and 1000 Times Resist. Both super cool, ambitious, interesting indie games from 2024 that I got to in 2025.
Nice. Will, you're up.
All right. From 10 to 1. Number 10, Anode Heart, Layer Null. Number 9, Goodnight Universe. Number 8, Heroes of the Seven Islands. Number 7, And Roger. Number 6, Doorkickers 2, Task Force North. Number 5, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Number 4, Fretless, The Wrath of Riffson. Number 3, The Outer Worlds 2. Number 2, Cronos, The New Dawn. And number 1, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. In terms of shoutouts, other things we haven't talked about that I think are worth playing, I think Split Fiction is much better than anything else Hazelight has put together. And I'm sorry that it couldn't quite crack my list because I had too many games I liked, but I do think they're getting to the point where they're getting a little bit better with their narrative and their dialogue. It's still a little clumsy, but I do think they're getting better. Anyway, and I'll turn it over to you, Flex.
All right. My top 10 were Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, Donkey Kong Bananza, and this is from 10 down to 1. Number 7 was Blueprints, 6 is Sunderfolk, 5 is Pipistrello and the Cursed Yoyo, 4 is Monster Train 2, 3 is Hollow Knight Silksong, 2 is Hades 2, and number 1 is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And I realized as I went through that, I had four games that are number 2s.
Yep. A lot of sequels.
Yep. For my honorable mentions, I'm going to speed run through a list of names. I'm going to take a weird tact. These are all games that I'm either currently in the middle of or haven't played and want to play. So whenever I do a revision to my list, some of these games may make it on. Absalom, Battlesuit Aces, Star Vaders, 2 Point Museum, Dispatch, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, Ninja Gaiden 4, Doom the Dark Ages, Monster Hunter Wilds, Promise Mascot Agency, Sectori, The Rogue Prince of Persia, Seance of Blake Manor, Unbeatable, and Pokemon Legends ZA.
Sounds like you got your games lined up for 2026.
I'm going to be playing a lot of 2025 games in 2026. So my honorable mentions go to the games I did not get to play.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was a good talk. A good year for games. Those are a lot of good games we went through. And we'll have more. They're gonna keep releasing video games in 2026, I hear. So we'll see which ones stand out at the end of this year.
Yep. They keep making them.
They keep
we'll
making
keep playing them.
Yep.
That's our motto here.
Yeah. Yep. Yep, that is. All right. Well, that has been a podcast. Let's get Nate to bed because he's got to work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And we're signing off. That has been our top games of 2025. We're Atacs. I am Flex, joined by Nate and Will. We are signing off. Happy New Year and see you next time.